Best to give me that loyalty. Best to give me that loyalty. Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. They'll be calling me royalty.
I could be the one you talk to when you're feeling down. I could be the one you run to when the moon hits the ground. I can say what I'm feeling, but the words just don't come out. If you ever feel lonely, girl, just know I'll come around. 'Cause I've traveled so far just to get to where you are. And I know that you're broken, but that makes you who you are. So pick up the pieces and show me you mean it tonight. I know what you're feeling, I see that look in your eyes. So pick up the pieces and show me you mean it tonight. 'Cause what I've been dreaming is giving you my paradise. Of it all, holding your hand, fighting for the things that we want. Be the rock you lean on, with you by my side. Baby, when we fall, together we'll rise. 'Cause I've traveled so far just to get to where you are. And I know that you're broken, but that makes you who you are. Look in your eyes. So pick up the pieces and show me you mean it tonight. 'Cause what I've been dreaming is giving you my paradise. So pick up the pieces. So pick up the pieces. DOTA in the city, rushing through me. Down upstream, are you with me? Round up, rainbow. DOTA in the city, rushing through me. Down upstream, are you with me? Feel it. rushing through me. Downpour of strength, all you make me feel it.
nervous on the surface, I look fine. My brain feels heavy, my traumatized mind. And I'm so tired, I can't feel my eyes. Whoa, whoa. I'm petty, but I know how to lie. I feel feelings that I can't describe. I'm not breathing, but I'm still alive. Whoa, whoa. But I think I'll be alright, 'cause I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up yet. I feel that it's my time, so I'ma give it everything. I'ma give it everything I got. So I'ma give it everything, I'ma give it everything I got. hope. So many days have passed. I wait around for things to change, but change has not come fast. I'm asking all the questions, but then I question them. Like, what's the point of living, existing when you can't see your God in flesh? I'm looking for the answers, they say to pray instead. I think I'll find them one day, but with a helping hand. I know that it's not easy, but I believe I will. Yeah, I'll get over all my fears and really conquer everything. I think I'll be alright, 'cause I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up yet. I feel that it's my time, so I'ma give it everything. I'ma give it everything I got. So I'ma give it everything, I'ma give it everything I got. I'ma give it everything, I'ma give it everything I got.
Well, this one is a knocker. Step in on the dance and I just my dance. Everything scatter. Right? Right?
Come cross.
Right now, man, active. Down with the game like a bandit. Me bring the flame like a matches. Test me no. Cut out the slackness, active style and pattern that's on my deck. Active. 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 One live life massive. Talking up and off the brandish. Touch road and hold the world hostage. When I start the bumper clad mash pit. When they step out, those days get active. 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 Hey, get the style now. Clark's on the east side. Bad bitch on each side. Big splits chillin' on the beach side. Run things where you feel like. Cake big, have a carve out the peace line. Freestyle now, millions for each line. Too cool, man, I need ice in my beverage. Test this bigger, please find the exit. Right now, man, active. Gone with the game like a bandit. Me bring the flame like a mattress. Let's me know. Put out the slackness, active style and pattern that's on my deck. Active. 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 One live like massive. Talking up and off the brandish. Touch road and hold the world hostage. When I start the bumper clad mash pit. When they step out, those days get active. 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 Active.
Everything you want, but you can't have. Number one regret, no takebacks. The hole in your chest, that's payback. Payback, yeah, you better take that. You could call me selfish, you critical, I could take the blame. Just like I could take a match and send it up in flames. Don't say I didn't want that. This might hurt, but that's just karma. Better take that. Call it payback. Don't say I didn't want ya. Stay mad, I know you wanna. This might hurt, but that's just karma. That's just karma. Go and play the part, play the victim. karma. Better take that. Call it payback. Don't say I didn't warn ya. Stay mad, I know you wanna. This might hurt, but that's just karma. That's just
I'm craving hope in this darkness. You say I'm just a joke, just a joke. Shivers my spine so bad. Swimming in the river stinks too much. I'm trying to let go of us, but the truth is that you're living your words.
My darling, in fire. My darling, rose in fire. You're a liar. You say, my darling, rose in fire. In fire. You say, my darling, rose in fire. You're a liar.
Shivers my spine so swimming in the rivers, swimming in the rivers. I'm trying to let go of us, but the truth is that you're living your
Hello, it's been a long, long time. Can't get you off my tired mind. Shadow, let the tape rewind and finally ease my anxious eyes. Oh no, I feel you creeping in, my body bleeding sin. I'm drowning. Heaven, can you save me now from these thoughts inside my head? God, you are the devil, running through my mind. I can't get on your level. I swear to God I tried. I am not under your spell. Turn around and turn ahead. You cannot be anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back, everybody, to Arena Esports, powered by Etisalat but honestly, I'm just happy to be here after a massive patch has dropped. It, of course, is Arena Esports. We have some teams that are very familiar. We saw them last week, but we also have some faces on camera that are very familiar. Hello again. My name is Edu. I'm joined by Miwa. Miwa, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, honestly. I'm feeling really, really good. I love myself some Arena Esports Dota 2. It's some of my favorite here at Arena Esports. I think it was my first, actually, as well at Arena Esports was Dota 2. So I'm excited. I'm excited to as well catch up with you and catch up with how some of our last Dota 2 games have gone, because, you know, I've been in and around, but I want to know if you have any, I guess, secret information on some of the teams that we maybe have today or that we've seen as a bit of a recap in the last few weeks.
Yeah, well, one team that we have again is Woofer's fans. They actually played last week facing off against Team Gamax here. And Gamax is another team that was very proficient. So this is a pretty interesting way to play it out. Of course, this is our monthly qualifiers. This is our Q3 monthly finals anyways. And a lot of teams have to battle their way to get to here. Of course, one thing that is really out there is the fact that, unfortunately, this is the second time that Woofers have been in the limelight. This is the second time they've made it to a monthly qualifier. They got beat last time by Team Random, and now they're going to have to try again. So it's been a whole month of battling it again and again and again to try to make it a playoff. So, Miwa, I'm excited to see where they're going to be. Obviously, I watched Team Gamax here in the open qualifier. They dominated as well. So I think that this is going to be a really even matchup, all depending on how they set off in that draft stage.
Yeah, I mean, you know better than I do when it comes to these teams, but the draft for me, I've seen a lot of games almost decided in draft when it comes to Dota 2. It feels like, you know, you see some of these teams. I know when I've casted with you before, specifically, actually, in the last Dota one that I've done, or maybe the previous one before that, it really was, or at least felt very much like it was extremely, extremely one-sided. And when it came to just that draft phase. So I'm really excited to see if we're going to have a bit more of that, but especially in a month and closer, 1,200 on the line today. And here we go. This is the tournament roadmap. This is what we were just talking about. And we can see, and this is something that we've not only seen in Dota, we've seen this in CS at Arena Esports. We've seen teams lose out in one monthly final qualifiers and go straight back in open qualifiers, get back in, another chance to get to the playoffs. And I love it.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of real good competition between these teams. The way that this roadmap is, of course, this is not a bracket for today if you are new to Arena Esports. No, this is the bracket of tournaments to get to our grand finals, which is going to be taking place most likely in February. So we have a large amount of gameplay to be had, watching us just develop into this playoff stage. Only 4 teams, of course, are going to be making it into playoffs. 2 teams make it to grand finals, and that, of course, might be at a pretty large land. So looking at how we've seen these players moving across the board, I am still excited by the level of competition these teams have been bringing here, Miwa. But of course, we can't be talking about the teams that have been bringing their all without our partners that have been bringing a lot of support to us in the back line here. So again, we want to say special shout out, of course, to our strategic partner AD Gaming and our broadcast partner Playtonia. But of course, with all of those sponsors thanked, we are going to be getting to a game soon here, and I want to talk about that game, Dota 2. Huge patch just rolled out here, Miwa, and I'm excited to see what players are adapting with.
Yeah, I mean, you were just talking to me earlier about the changes with Rashok being able to yell across the map. Sounds absolutely disgusting. I've yet to see it in action. Really, really excited to see, especially how these are going to play, because I know you mentioned as well, you think that's going to be really impactful at this level of esports. And what makes you feel like this big change specifically is going to be so impactful in these games?
Well, my main takeaway as to why the recent change around you cannot back-to-back Roshan without Roshan making you take more damage for a little bit of time, and of course, global scream saying, hey, we're here, come kick our butts. it's scary, especially when you know that these teams rely heavily on the fact that Roche is the it's the win chance. It's what they need to group up and take it. I mean, the Aegis of the Immortal is the strongest item for a reason. It just makes it so team fights, late game, pushing high ground, you can't do that without it. So with that change, we're going to be seeing a lot more mid game fighting, and that is what I think leads to the best spectator Dota. So honestly, I think that what we need to be experiencing from both of these teams is just consistency, but with these updates that are rolling out, it's going to change the dynamic of how and where they're going to be playing on the map.
I mean, it's huge changes, aren't they? And it's something that isn't even put in over a slow period of time. This is just thrown into the mix, and especially has such a massive impact in esports games like this, when these teams have probably practiced for countless hours for these games, played loads as a team, and then suddenly are thrown in with very little prep, almost, I guess you could say, into having to get these new changes. And I think this will likely be the first game for either of these teams in a competitive setting with these new changes in place. So, I mean, it'll be awesome. It's going to be exciting. We're going to be here for it. We're going to be bringing everyone that is watching, we're going to be bringing you guys through these changes as they happen live. And these are the teams. We mentioned them so far. It's Team Gamax versus Woofer fans. And, I've seen, now that we mentioned it, I've seen, I think, both of these teams in some capacity within Arena Esports. So it is really good seeing some of those familiar faces, and especially for a bit of a Woofer fans redemption arc, as we can maybe see them try and pull through and get to this playoffs today and get some redemption from their previous failure in the monthly finals Q2. Now, just moving a little bit back into this game, running myself back a little bit, do you have any particular team which you think might just have the edge here, or is the information just not enough there for it?
I think as of right now, when it comes to which team I think has the edge, Woofer fans has been playing a lot more. I mean, they have had a reason to play a lot more, being that they get into these qualifiers, into these late stages of the game very often recently. I mean, I've seen them really, their play style, what got them to play today was strong. I was a little bit shocked at the fact that I couldn't see them, at the level of playoff stage of over a month ago. Now, I think that they are practiced enough that they should be taking this. And I know that's a bold claim. Team Gamax, though, they have had a lot of time to scrim, however, and scrim matches versus live play, it's a little different, as we know. So overall, I'm not too shocked as to what the play style is going to be for these two. What I really want to be focusing on is who brings the most aggression, because early game aggression was the defining factor here at Arena Esports for these two teams a lot of the time. We saw, an insane start for Woofers last month, where they were, doing so much damage in the early game, but they fell off because they couldn't keep up, and they bit off a little bit more than they could chew. And, unfortunately, that bite is a lot weaker than their bark. So, it's things like that I'm going to be looking forward to.
Yeah, and going back to what you're saying kind of earlier when you mentioned about these teams and having to practice. Now, I think one of the most important parts for me is having practice in this stage of this esports event. Like we were mentioning earlier, Woofer's been here before. They know what they're doing, and there is going to be less pressure on their shoulders overall to perform because they've had that chance. They know what it's like. They're going at it again. This isn't new ground for them. Whereas Team Gamax, we've not seen them in a monthly quarterfinals for Dota, unlike Woofer fans. So who knows, maybe there's going to be a little bit of, I suppose, bias towards Woofer in that sense, because they've got that practice. They know what it's going to be like, and they are going to be so much more prepared for it. Well, at least that's what we can hope. However, now just talking heroes, I am personally, and you know this, a massive fan of Lifestealer. And is there any chance you reckon we could see either of these teams pick up Lifestealer? Because it's been a relatively popular pick so far in Arena Esports.
Well, I think that the main concern regarding Lifestealer is where are the tanks? What, you pick a Lifestealer if you see a large amount of people locking in the main cores of the game. And that's where I think, yes, Lifestealer can be a good pick, but he's very situational. You don't want a Lifestealer if you're playing against squishy nukers. You don't want a Lifesteal if you're playing against, Drow Rangers. You need a little bit of a balance there, work-life balance anyways, to make it make sense. So honestly, I think in the situation that we are looking at here, it's going to come down to, are they picking Bristleback, Centaur, Wraith King, any tanky core that is going to dominate in the offlane that they're going to be really concerned about. So my answer to that, probably not yet.
Oh, the disappointment. Well, I mean, who knows? These teams have thrown so many surprises at us so far. Arena Esports, Dota 2 at least, has had some of the most surprising, not only picks, but also plays. So anything could happen, I feel like, at this level. And honestly, I feel like anything can happen at any moment. We're just waiting to get into this game. But for you, Edu, is there any final thoughts that you think that we necessarily haven't gone over too much yet about both of these teams going into this game with the new patch, with the new changes?
I mean, the only final thoughts I have are, which characters have fallen out of the meta in the early game because of the updates to how people have been playing against, the slow way to play. Itemization is a big word when it comes to Dota 2. What items you pick up have been very crucial in that early game. And the fun fact about all of these updates is they really messed with how people build early game support items. So supports are in an awkward position right here. Cores, yeah, they have a brand new upgraded phylactery. They got everything on the roster for them. However, the big concern I'm looking at here is the fact that supports might fall off real fast. So you're going to need carries carrying harder, supports slowing down a lot. Usually you have at least 2 to 3 items right now in the previous meta. In this one, I can assume that supports are going to be stuck to 1 items and, relying heavily on their warding capabilities for money, especially since they also nerfed how much gold was given in neutral camps. So in the jungle, 2 gold every single creep is 2 gold less. So you're not making as much money in the bounce back mechanics that the jungle usually was. So as of right now, I think that for both of these teams, they have very strong carries, but it was their pause 3s, it was their supports, it was their not so core cores being able to run around and make space for their team that made them so strong. I think both teams are going to suffer from this update.
Okay, right, big. I mean, they are huge changes, and that's that's the thing. It's going to be, it's more so, for, at least for me, going to be interesting to see how these teams adapt to these kind of changes. Because at the end of the day, adaptability is one of the biggest things, not only in Dota, but in esports as a whole, being able to adapt to these changes on the fly. And I think this is going to give us a really good idea about who really is the best team here, because you can practice one comp in one patch every day for a week and get really good at it. But when that patch changes, when we get big changes like this, and especially playstyle changes like you're mentioning for supports and for Rash, all this kind of stuff, I think it's really going to be a huge tell in terms of these players, and especially for these players. Woofer fans have already given a little bit away in terms of strategy. We've seen Woofer fans haven't played before. Maybe Gamax do have those VODs available. They can sort of look out and be like, well, where can we pick for, I guess, mistakes that they're going to make? Where are we going to be able to find to counter this comp? Because I know you mentioned earlier that Dota 2 is a huge game about countering. So with this new patch, though, things are completely changing. You almost can't look at those VODs as well as you would have been able to look at them before. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but especially when you're saying support's getting less items overall, could mean that this Woofer is going to go for some bigger changes. So Gamax's VOD, and I mean even Woofer's VOD as well, are going to be outdated. So I feel like this first game might be both teams just sort of feeling each other out a bit, seeing what either team want to play with before we're going to see some real action.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this game 1, of course, it's a best of 3, so they're going to have to poke the bear a bit. Both teams are going to be, very, stay inside the sea bear circle. They don't want to get anywhere out of this element that they've found themselves in here. So I believe that what we have seen from them is looking pretty well, but of course, we are going to be finding out exactly what these teams are going to be bringing to the table after a short break, everybody. So stick around. We will be right back with, hopefully, some good Dota 2 gameplay.
do this Abu Dhabi! Let's 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 do this Abu Dhabi!
And welcome back. Sorry about that short break. We now have players ready, game ready, and we're going to be jumping straight on in as soon as possible. But Miwa, before the break, we did talk about what we can expect here. What picks do you want to see that aren't Lifestealer? I know Lifestealer was on your roster for quite some time there. So, now that might not be on the docket here. What is a expectation you have for what picks we got to see here?
Well, I don't know too much about expectations, honestly. I more just have picks that I love seeing. And you know what? One of those, and I think you might agree with me on this one, is going to be Pudge. I love seeing Pudge in some of these games. I love seeing that kind of level of play. And also, I love seeing how upset sometimes that you can get as a Pudge player when watching some of the other Pudge players. So there's a win-win all around for that one. I think other than that, the only one that I'd really also like to see is maybe a bit of Chaos Knight gameplay as well. And who knows, maybe even a Ricky, but I think that is very unlikely in these games. I've not even seen that as a pick or ban for a very long time. So some shots in the dark, but I think Pudge is the one I'm looking out for.
Yeah, I mean, Pudge is one of the characters that is probably going to add a lot of spice to it, but let's jump on in and see what picks are actually being locked in. I know we have the game ready for us, and here we go. So far, 3 bans. 2 supports have been banned, 1 being a very odd ban that I understand. At high level Visage here, the first ban is terrifying to have to deal with. They can push hard, they can gank even harder, but they also have just so much information gathering. But as we see from the bans, nothing too out of place. Banning a Chen, I think what that tells us is that Woofer fans is a little bit of afraid of a pushing strategy. They don't want anyone to be in their backline taking towers.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, they're going through these bans so quickly, I can't even keep up with them half the time. You know what? I feel like when we've looked at other games, they've gone to this reserve time straight away. They've ate through loads of the reserve time, and like by the time we actually get to the picks, they've only got a minute left. But they're just knocking through these bans right now straight away. But I mean, we've not seen anything that I particularly was wanting to see banned out yet, so I still have my hopes up. What are you kind of thinking from a first pick from either of these teams here?
Well, first pick, they're going to have to start off something strong support section-wise. Shadow Demon doesn't quite fit the strong level because Shadow Demon, yes, has great purge ability, has a chance at having a great nuke. The problem, though, is that you have to land a lot of concurrent and back-to-back-to-back util usages, and that's very tough to do against a team with great mobility. So an answer to that, looks like we have Treant Protector. That would be, in my opinion, a significantly stronger support pick right now in the meta. Treant heals a lot, lots of HP, and doesn't need a whole lot of items to get online.
Yeah, Treant Protector is that one that I really like to see, and I think it has some massive potential for impact, especially in some of those team fights. Like the last time I was here, we saw Treant Protector really just either disable or enable team fights of the team all the time, which was so difficult to deal with, and you could just tell. I feel like it's a massive wrench thrown in the plan sometimes. So I really like that pick. I like seeing a Treant Protector up here, and I'm wondering what they're going to be pairing with this Treant Protector as well. And I feel like you definitely want some potentially more follow-up, would you say, with Treant Protector?
Yeah, Treant, he's got an ultimate that can root everybody AoE. He's the team fight that you want. However, very long cooldown. The one thing that you'd want to try to balance with this character is you'd need to have some kind of carry that can get up close and personal. So maybe a Legion Commander is pretty solid. Maybe even a Lifestealer, depending on what picks are here. But as we see from the bans, right now, Gamax Esports, they are very much focused on being afraid of those small or those large characters in the fight, the Marses, the Terrorblade, the Drow, the carries. And you can look over at Woofer, they don't want the good supports right now, because if you ban out the good supports are in a bad spot in this meta. It's going to cause some issues for you if you just get rid of all of the main problems early on. Hoodwink into Treant, that's gotta hurt. This is not going to be an easy game for either side, but that just made it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the size comparison between the two of them. One's so tall. It almost looked a little bit goofy, but I mean, at the same time, it's I think one of those where we're probably looking for teams to actually make this difficult. I don't think teams want to try and make this a clear-cut strategy, especially with these changes, trying to bring slightly more, I guess, challenging combos and team comps to your opponent across the board is just going to be so much more effective after big changes, because it's just so difficult not only to play into it, but then also to play around these new changes, which might lead to a bit of confusion. So who knows? Maybe Woofer fans are on something here.
Yeah, I think you could be right there. What I am also looking forward to is the fact that, we've seen a lot of bans, but now it's the pick. It's Viper. Viper is hated by the community for one reason. Very easy to play in mid, so you don't need a lot of brain power, but falls off very easily. So you need to snowball on this character. And talking about snowballs, we got Tusk. This is the snowball for Cobalt. This is the Walrus Man. Now Tusk, great initiation, arguably one of the best initiators in the game right now. So looking at how these players want to continue moving forward with it, I like the team comp here from Gamax though for getting picks. Team fight wise, they are dramatically lacking on that department.
Yeah, but then again, I do think that across the board, I mean, Tusk and Viper are both picks we've seen a lot within Arena Esports. I think that, especially Tusk, I've seen this picked in so many different occasions. And I think that they've had quite good impact. At least Tusk, I know, has had great impact in some of the previous games. So maybe they're trying to go more based off what's been working well so far in Arena Esports. What have teams found the most success with? And from there, trying to then turn that into a comp rather than looking at maybe some of these new changes. And especially, like you're saying, big changes, they might actually be trying something out at the same time. I think we've got a lot to see based off these comps.
Yeah, I like what we're seeing so far, but look at how much time they're taking out of reserve. This is a team comp that they're like, how do we counter the Viper? How do we get rid of that poison? I mean, the biggest thing Viper does is break you. So you can't really pick into that character anybody with a heavy reliance on passives. Sven here doesn't have that many passives anymore than what he used to, but still, he doesn't get his cleave anymore if he's in that team fight position. And that's what Sven's known for. So, yes, he has enough power that he can just wipe Viper right through blade mail. He has that strength. So I like that pick coming up here, but to combo with the Sven, they're going to need some kind of mage, some kind of nuker that can really lock things down in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to see some of these picks come through here as reserve time is now starting to dwindle. I mean, we still have a couple picks, a couple bans to come through, so actually, one thing that I will note, and maybe you're going to have a good bad at this, Invoker. I never saw Invoker go through bans, and now it's going through bans and not getting picked unless I'm completely missing it. Is there any reason that we're seeing that change?
I think the reason that we saw that change recently is mainly because of how the meta, item-wise, Invoker, he takes a lot. He's a greedy mid. You have not that much time to let him cook, is how I view it. Invoker is one of those characters that if you do not lock things down on an early level, you're going to be really taking the L there. So against a Viper mid, nearly impossible to walk away with that mid without getting harassed out and not getting enough farm. So I think that's the main concern that you're seeing from these players.
Okay, and I like it. But we do Centaur War Runner being picked up there along the bottom. Now we're starting to definitely see these comps take a lot of shape here with the fourth picks being pulled through. And I feel like this is at least where, for me, this is the most important part. Those early picks, yes, they're big, but it gives you a lot of it gives you a lot of different choices, I suppose, a lot of different directions that you can go for still that good amount of flexibility. But now, especially rounding up these last few picks, there it is! We got the Life Stealer! Oh, nice. I've been waiting for this for so long. I'm so glad that we got it picked up, even though you were saying that they're slightly lower chance. And paired with the Tusk as well, I feel like there's quite decent potential here.
Yeah, I love the Lifestealer pick. And, going off the back of why you would pick a Lifestealer, Centaur War Runner, Sven, Treant, these are the tankiest characters you don't want to deal with in the late game. So having that immediate answer to is just the cherry on top. So Lifestealer being able to battle it out, he's got himself a pocket BKB. He has an amazing amount of damage output. Dude hits you for a percentage, and when you're facing off against a ton of tanks, it's not ideal. So I like this. I love the fact that we're seeing it this early into the game. But now looking at what is going to be going on in the final picks, this team of Woofer fans needs a mid, and they have to find one pretty soon, or they're going to be SOL if they can't have anything that beats this Viper.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on the side of Gamax. I feel like Gamax definitely do have, I guess, the more impactful picks across the board. I'm not saying better necessarily, but I do feel like there are a lot more, I suppose, bigger personalities within the hero pool of Gamax Esports right now. Definitely making Woofer maybe trying to play a little bit more on the back foot here. But again, with these last picks, this can be changed up at any moment. And there's a surprising amount of reserve time for both these teams to do these last picks. So they're going to have some time to really think about it, think about what they want to do. I mean, especially Woofer, you got a whole extra 45 seconds. You got a minute to get that last pick through. So, well, I mean, it will still be a bit hard. We are now seeing this last ban come through for Gamax. What do you think it's going to be? 10 seconds.
I mean, I think right now they're going to have to ban something like an OD. OD is a great ban because they know that they're facing off against a mid. That's why they ban the Huskar. That's why they ban the OD. Both of those do very well against the Viper. You know, but looking at this final pick here, what's left on the table? I'm looking at maybe a Pangolier. Could be a decent pickup here. Viper might be zoned out. The problem is you need a range. So you need something that can deal with harassment in mid. Hell, you might even be able to send Hoodwink into mid at this point and go for an even scarier pick. But Magnus as the offlaner to carry with the Tusk in those moments, this team fight is just surrounded. I mean, Gamax Esports, they have what I would consider to be a dangerous team comp the second they start getting first bloods. So I like what we're seeing here, but Miwa, if you're on Woofer's fans and you know you only have 5 seconds left, luckily you still have 45 seconds of reserve time here. So well, they need to pick something that can get down these players, something that goes through BKB, something that can stop a team fight. I'm thinking a Silencer. Silencer is a strong pick here, and it's not a banned character. Silencer might be able to really lock things down because Global Silence Ultimate, scaling damage, takes away intel from the Lifestealer, from the Magnus, who desperately needs it, and does lane pretty fair against a Viper. So that would be my assumption here, although it's very hard to have a mid Silencer not fall off.
Yeah, maybe we could even see something like the Bristleback potentially if they're just trying to egg for a little bit more of that damage. And we are going to see it come through just at the end, and Queen of Pain being locked in. That's one that either of us, I think, necessarily expected there.
I mean, it was either going to be Silencer or Queen of Pain. You needed a range carry that can zone people out. Queen of Pain is a very strong mid. The main power that she has, though, is by minute 5, you should expect to see her ganking. By the 6-minute mark, she's got a power rune, and she is now in your lane messing you up. So that is the nuker. That's the mage that this team needed. It also has a very common build of getting an Orchid Malevolence, getting that silence. You're going to need to get either, you know, honestly, you get that silence, you can shut down the Lifestealer. If he can't pop off his Q, he doesn't have his BKB, he doesn't have that magic immunity anymore. So I like the Queen of Pain pick. However, Queen of Pain, if they're not ganking, if they're not efficient in getting these kills, they are going to run into one big issue. Not enough money for their items. Right now, it's expensive to live and more expensive to die, as we have a huge prize pool on our hands here, and Woofer fans, they know what they need to do here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot on the table right now, heading into game number 1. It feels like we've been waiting ages for the start of this, but it's just getting us in now. We're seeing from that bottom side, I believe this is Gamax that we are watching. Yeah, it is. I'm not completely trolling, but it is Gamax that we're watching towards that bottom side. I do think we're going to see any of that early game aggression. Doesn't look like it. They're heading to both opposite sides. Santa hat as well on Dobby. Look at that. Nice little festive. And Rays. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this update, I mean, obviously, you can already see how it's impacting a little bit of buys here. Lifesteal are going with 3 little, not even bracers, just gauntlets of strength here to try to, get back what you lost in the update here. But as they are smoked up, we actually are not going to be seeing any first blood. Usually, you would have an invasion going on where you try to take the other team's bounty runes. This time, they're keeping it pretty smart. They're taking it slow. Radiant sticking to Radiant side, Dire sticking to Dire. But what we've seen from these two teams is that if they aren't going for invasions, if they're just going for money and they're taking it slow, it's going to be a little bit of a jog here. Not a marathon, a jog. They're taking it as passive as you can. Now, with the team comp that we see from the Radiant Gamax here, I'm looking hopeful for, their middle of the row. I think by the 12-minute mark, they will be winning, but that's based off of their team comp being just so strong in the early game.
Yeah, and I think you were saying about it being maybe like that little bit slower play. Maybe this could just be both teams trying to, I guess, feel themselves out. Like I was saying, I think we're going to see a lot of that in this game one. We're going to see a lot of these two teams just trying to feel things out, see how either team want to play this, and as well explore some of these new changes a little bit before fully committing to one thing or another. Because again, only been out for a couple days, probably no competitive games of this just yet for either of these teams. So there's a lot that we could really see coming from this. And I mean, like, I do think though, from what we've seen in other games, this mid-game is where it's going to be decided. Arena Esports Dota 2 mid-game has been famously known for its absolutely explosive gameplay. So I'm hoping that we can see that again, but I'm honestly to God, I think that is what we're going to see from both of these teams here.
I think the strangest pickup here is the fact that they didn't send the Viper into mid and instead are having the Viper as a pause 3 off lane. So I think that's really odd in my opinion, because, Viper caused a lot of hiccups here, but in the fight, it looks like we are going to be seeing first blood. Already, we're having Blade Moose starting to shut them back. That's the power of Hoodwink. Insane right-click damage, great harassment. And when you're facing off against a Shadow Demon, the main reason I didn't like that pick as the first pick support, dude's squishy. And you need a lot of setup and a lot of mana investment to make it worth.
Yeah, and you know what? I think getting that first blood, I mean, it was actually a lot quicker than I think either was necessarily expected. It's going to be quite impactful, especially. I think we're going to be coming to find that first blood might just be almost telling the tale for that side of the map, especially. So, I mean, granted, it's still very early on in the game. Like, there's no goal differential yet between these two teams. However, it definitely does make you worry a little bit about how the rest of that lane's going to go, especially when we're looking towards that mid game. Because if they're losing these fights early, which don't maybe necessarily want to be losing, I mean, granted, this mid lane so far, actually, just while we were looking at this, this just reminded me, it does feel like they're a little bit apprehensive to do too much. There's been a bit of poking, but other than that, they've not really properly committed to anything yet. Like we're seeing Raze here come through, get some extra damage onto the enemy mid laner here, but I don't know if it's just going to be enough. As we're seeing now, Dobby look for a little bit of an engagement here, gets the banish off, is going to start getting some much bigger damage. Blade Moose is going to get that away to survive, but very nice reaction, I think, especially from Dobby there to be able to go down in time for that.
Yeah, I like the fact that we still have the TP out. I mean, that's just one of the core aspects of Dota that can easily distinguish a low-level player from a high-level player, knowing, oh, they don't have a stun, I could just TP away instead of try to walk away. It is expensive. A TP scroll is not the cheapest of items in the game, but if you're not dying or if you're not wasting time leaving your lane, it's great. But look at this early gank already coming up here. Might be a gank, but no, just going for the bottled bounty rune to try to heal up. So that actually, takes him away from the lane to get that. Makes sense to do so, but when you're on Radiant, it's not that efficient. But Dobby versus this player, Blade Moose, has been just back and forth beating on each other, and that's what we need to do in the early game. I like the fact that these supports are trying to trade it out, but a trade is not going to happen. Look at that, the counter. Wait, he's out. And that is a dead madness. Unfortunately, Sven, you see how much damage the stacks from Viper does. That's why you are so scared of this character. You can't dive him, especially when there's a Tusk. So, honestly, we're just getting started and watching this game unfold.
Yeah, I mean, that, like, little turnaround, especially when it was maybe not looking so good on that bot side, TP scrolls, burned up, lost that first blood. For now, the Gamax to be able to turn that around a little bit more, have that tiny gold lead in their advantage once more, does go to show that I think we're going to probably see that closer game like we were both expecting, especially in these early parts. However, I think, especially when you're looking at a game like this, you really have to be thinking of the snowball potential from Gamax's top side there. So, I mean, sorry, bot side here. So, I mean, if they're able to sort of turn this around, get Lifestealer going, and Dobby's able to follow up things through, but he's way too far up, overextended, and Cramps is going to be able to pick up that kill in a fight that I feel like was way too forced.
Yeah, it was a little bit forced chasing after the tower, did a bunch of damage to Chems. The problem, though, is that Dobby relied heavily on being able to stack them out using their, Shadow Poison. They were out of mana, so they dove expecting to get like maybe 3 or 4 off more, and there we go. Even more damaged out bottom. Tryhard now dead as well. This is what Woofers does. They are very aggressive, but finally the trades come through from Dobby's TPing back in, but the damage has already been dealt. They've already crippled the speed at which this Lifestealer is getting online, and top is having a similar feeling, but this time flipped on the sides. Gamax is really locking it down. Razor plus Tusk, Viper plus Tusk is such a powerful slow, and honestly, I feel bad for the double melees that they have here, because they're just going to be zoned out.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a problem with the double melee. You open yourself to that risk. You open yourself to that possibility of just getting permanently zoned, especially by a champion like, a hero like Viper. Does definitely open up a bit too much of a counterplay on that top side. But maybe they were expecting that Viper to go mid, not expecting to get zoned out as badly. But they've still had some kills. Gold is still slightly an advantage of Gamax. Very even game so far, but it's looking like Gamax are going to want to take this just that little bit more with a nice catch there, bringing themselves up to 3 kills, and now just over that 1k gold lead.
All right, and with a little bit of a gold lead, honestly, it's not much. It's less than 1k. It is pretty even across the board. Last hits and denies going a little bit more favoring the Radiant, but the Radiant are also dying a little bit more as well. So it's balancing out here. I like the fact that Tryhard did get an Orb of Corrosion. I think that's a great item to tank him up and maybe help deal some damage. The problem doesn't really build into much anymore. So, we are splitting that a bit, but Dobby setting themselves up. This is going to be a fight for the Wisdom Rune, and I think they know that Dobby's here. Great warding, great util, and that should be a dead Shadow Demon. Unfortunately, not much they can do here except for go for some damage, but wait, might be able to deny into the creeps. No, not going to happen that time.
It was almost there, but now Kemp's going to retreat back, run the minions through the towers there, and this mid lane, though, this is a complete contrary to what's going on the rest of the map. I feel like this has just been so chill here. For a lot of this, I feel like Raze, they were poking each other out a little bit, but they've been vibing. They're chilling. Dobby's here to follow up. Maybe we're going to see some kind of play happening from this high ground advantage here. Ooh, but I mean, Raze hasn't wanted to engage too much so far. Dobby's here ready to go in. The Banish is going to come through. Dobby coming in from the top. Phaser coming in from the top side river as well. And it's just so well played as Africa is in the wrong position. Raze gets that. Fezzer actually does get that kill, bringing now Gamax up to 4 kills. Pretty textbook play, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was textbook, but it was expensive. Using the reverse polarity, that is the longest cooldown they have, so they're not going to be able to gank anytime soon. But looks like Blademus is actually going for his own type of gank, but this is so risky. Oh, that is a suicidal play, and yeah, you're not going to be able to get out of here alive unless we have an ultimate. We have a Queen of Pain, and we have them flying in. Kemps gets it. That's exactly what you need to do. The team play is perfect, and now with the full rotate, that's going to be a double kill, 2 for the price of none. No one is getting traded out today, and Miwa, that counter initiation was perfect, textbooks pro Dota level.
I mean, yeah, what a turnaround as Woofers do allow themselves to get up to that 6 kills margin, get a couple players off the map as well, meaning they're going to be able to pick up so much in these lanes, deny so much as well. This is really the play that Woofers wanted to make, especially after that mid lane gank didn't work out for them so well. Ended badly for them, but wasted life seems to waste yet another life as Gamax does pick up another kill. Maybe Madness could be in a bit of a rough situation here. Viper's going to be able to get that stun up, sorry, that damage up, sorry, but the TP will come through for the Savior, but more fights happening across the map as Dobby almost find themselves in a bad position here. Fezza's here to follow up. Dobby's come back now. Africa, bad spot once again. It's going to get brought incredibly low, trying to stay alive. Fezza, oh sorry, no, not even Fezza that time, as Ankau gets that kill. Ankau with a double on a killing spree now, as these teams are trading blows like crazy.
Wow. I mean, great amount of just duking it back and forth. We did see, of course, 2 down now, and yes, it's a close game, 7-6, but at the end of the day, it's who is getting those kills, who is being a main factor. This Viper, this Magnus are getting a ton of farm, but they can't out farm a Sven. If you look over at the safe lane, this is a carry that has not really had that many issues. They have, yes, had a rough lane against the Viper, but we are pretty much out of the laning stage and now into the mid jungle beginnings. This is where you're going to be expecting to see a lot more of these ganks, but that player just got a haste rune, not going to pop it, instead just going to walk away. Might actually want to change on him, and the counter, oh, nearly wasted the RP, but at the end, that was a decent exchange. Lots of damage dealt, but the haste rune is still in Raze's possession.
Yeah, and now, like, these teams, they're staying so even right now. I feel like both of these teams almost are, like, a bit scared to fully overcommit to any of these plays right now. And I think that where we currently stand, we're still waiting for either team to really go for a big play here. Because so far, it's been trading blows, but I mean, trading, that's not really going to get you anywhere at the end of the day. So it'll be interesting to see if we do finally have a turning point in this game where one team really just goes big and tries to take an objective. But so far, playing it a little bit slower, I still think feeling themselves out just a tad. But so far, jungles, though, this is where we've seen so much contention from these teams. I don't think any lane pressure is really being applied. It's all around these runes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. All that we're seeing from both of these teams is trying to make space for their carry. Lifestealer has been able to sit in lane for the longest amount of time. Sven, though, is in the jungle. Recently, jungle got nerfed a bit, you know, -2 gold to every neutral camp. But regardless of those slight tweaks, we still have a Sven being able to farm quickly thanks to cleave, but the Magnus also bringing that cleave, also farming pretty efficiently. But look at this gank. It's about to unfold, and meanwhile, they want to jump straight on this character and will be able to grab it. That is a dead poor Quap.
Wow, that felt a bit cruel, I'm not gonna lie. That was just so fast, no time to react. Blade Moose trying to run away, but Raze is just so fast. Look at that speed. Doesn't want to go into that second tier tower. Now we do have wasted life here, but the pause, the timing, not like this. This is just about to explode. We're literally watching it pre-explosion right now.
Wow. And that's pretty scary to see all of this. I mean, is it a technical timeout or is it a quick one? This is risky to see it, but Blade Moose is going to get caught out. The stuns. Madness is finally out of the jungle, and this is a Sven ready to cook. Lots of damage being dealt here, and unfortunately, with that, I believe Raze cannot get out. Another huge ultimate. Wasted life is not going to be wasting his life with a great ultimate, grabbing 2. Kemp's on the double kill, and that is the cleanup here. Every time this Queen of Pain dies, their team comes in and trades out beautifully. But that's a DD, and that is a tower no longer allowed to stand.
Yeah, you know, that's exactly what I was about to say. I feel like every single time we see Gamax get something, it's instantly traded back by Woofers. And I think it's good reactional, but I feel like we just need to see Woofers make that initial play before Gamax do, as Feather getting brought especially low is going to use that TP to get away on very low HP, but I mean, again, it just feels like Woofers are waiting for Gamax to make a play before they decide to react to it. And so far, it's keeping them even, but you're never going to win with this strategy. You need to do something. You need to make a play of your own and push for some objectives of your own. Otherwise, you're not going to get ahead as much as you would necessarily want to.
Yeah, and now looking at this next one, I think what we can expect, this next little bit of a fight here, is they have to start grouping up, because I'm surprised Magnus is actually quite behind on farm. Luckily, their team has been stacking these camps, so they are going to be able to get some of this money back, but not many items left. I mean, 13 minutes in, doesn't have a Blink Dagger yet, doesn't have an Echo Saber yet, so that is going to hold them back quite a bit here. However, you compare that over to the Radiant, very similar, or the Dire, sorry. You compare that over to Woofer fans, and they're just bringing it back thanks to all the kills they've been getting. Blade Moose jungling right here to try to build up their core. The second that this Hoodwink gets a Rod of Atos, that's going to be an unfortunate time for the Magnus. No more escape that he gets.
Yeah, and you know these also when you just look back at this gold, continuing to be this even just does make me feel like neither of these teams are getting any seriously, like, I guess, serious carries just yet. And we can see on the net worth on the side here, we are seeing that the Dire side does have a couple players that are a chip above the rest, but it's so small. And after that, you got a few Radiant players, so it continues that even part. But now, Fezza, Dobby, and Raze, Wasted Life is the target. Is it going to get spotted out here? I don't think Wasting Life has any idea, but it's missed. Oh my god. It's missed. What an incredible miss. The banishment's going to come through from Dobby. They're going to try and turn this around. They're getting huge damage, not even having to go under the tower yet. Snowball, Fezza trying to make it work, does get the kill onto that killing spree, but that was a bit of a blunder to start us off there.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal whatsoever there. Now, looking at this next round, and the next way that I can see them playing it out, the fact that the Treant's gone, the fact that the towers have fallen, that opens up for this Lifestealer. I want to know how close Lifestealer is to coming back here. Unfortunately, not doing that great. Raze has fallen off. Their early aggression that they've had has always been traded off. They just invested so much time into just getting one support in top. And in that meantime, Sven and Centaur have been farming freely in the jungle. If they do not gank Kemp soon, then that is going to be a tanky Centaur that you cannot stop. And Madness doing the same. Dude already has his Echo Saber and Mask of Madness. This is a giant wave of Ancients, and it doesn't even matter to Madness.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, especially when you're like just sitting on just that sheer amount of gold, especially, it's just kind of like, I mean, how do you even play into that with, like, because this is what we've seen quite a lot of teams, especially in Arena Esports, do, is build up so much economy on one person by just walking around and picking up all the minions, all the camps, everything, and just becoming unkillable. I think it was maybe even with you that we saw a player go and farm while the enemy team was contesting Rosh, and instead was just down other side of the map, getting some camps, and then out of nowhere came through and just demolished in fights. But talking about fights, here we have one now with Kremps being put in a bad situation, Wasted Life trying to come through and fix things up. Madness as well for the turnaround. Woofers were ready for this one, as now Ankau not in the most ideal of situations either. The whole team from Woofers turning it around. One kill's going to come through. Dobby could hold down. Now Kremps looking especially low. More and more kills coming through. We do see Blade Moose able to pick up on the side there. Oh. But now, finally, Raze, they're able to start turning this around. Woofer's not in the best spot anymore. Kremps jumping in. What a big stun. Is able to pick up yet another kill. It's 3 for 1 right now. But it doesn't look like Kremps is going to last for much longer. We've only got Tryhard and Raze available. The teleport scroll will come through to safety. But that was a massive fight.
And I don't think they're over. They want to find out where the Lifestealer went. And that is Tryhard TPing out, but Kemp's turning it around with that stun just shifted it so heavily in the favor of them. That's what a good Centaur can do. Even though the stun hoof stomp got reduced a lot in damage recently, it's still such a powerhouse of a util. I mean, the AoE, the fact that Kemp's here, knows his movement, knows how to just weave and bob, has a Force Staff, which isn't a common pickup here for a Centaur. Force Staff plus the Blink Dagger, that's an expensive amount of mobility there. So I like that we're seeing them bounce back, but ooh, Dobby almost spotting that player out there.
Yeah, and you know, Dobby has been so proactive on this map and has spotted a few players in a few different situations. However, it does feel like Dobby either hasn't got the follow-up or doesn't have the follow-up themselves to be able to actually make much out of this really good, like, I guess, overview of the map that this player has. So I mean, maybe we'll see something come from it. Madness is able to almost pick up that tower on the bottom, but the Fortified will come through, delay it slightly, but we all know it's going to fall in the end anyway. Tower goes down, Madness gets a bit more gold and a bit more pressure on the map, and here we go to a big fight with Raze. What a play, bring it in. Fezza gets yet another kill. Africa not having the best game so far. It feels like this mid lane has been a bit rough, but you know, as we've said so far, every time that mid lane has gone down. There's been this turnaround from Woofers, and here they go. Big play onto the Viper. Started off, Badass is going to come through to try and slow things down, but there we go. Now back at it again. Viper in the snowball, trying to make something happen, but it's maybe just a little bit too deep. Fez is not in the best spot. Fez is currently sitting on a fair bit of gold, so Fez might not necessarily want to be the one to die here, but the Lifestealer is starting to come to this fight now, and it's going to begin to turn around. Madness gets that kill onto Fez, though, and now Ray's being put in a bad spot. With the turnaround, look at that Viper damage though as well. Lifestealer in this fight too. It's just going all bad for Woofers here as they're going to try to back off, but it's just not going to be enough. Madness is going to be the last to take it down. Blood Moose and Wasted Life are going to be the survivors, but that was bloodthirsty, and now Lifestealer at the top of the gold charts.
Wow. I mean, definitely close the gap between these two teams in such a short amount of time. Sven, unfortunately, not going to be able to do much against a hard counter like Lifestealer. That's the worst part about LS, is you wanted to see it, and this team did not. That is terrifying amount of damage that LS can do. And, oh no, they're going for a Radiance. And if they can successfully get that Radiance built, there it is. Good luck hitting the Lifestealer now, as everyone under that burn is not going to be able to do much under the sun. And hopefully they can keep that DPS going, but I'm also thinking in the late game when Radiance falls off, that's a nullifier, which completely cripples this Queen of Pain.
And now, I mean, talk about crippling, we are just seeing this constant turnarounds from both of these teams. Woofer's trying to pull something back. Kemps is here for the follow-up as well. Kemps gets the kill onto Feza, and, you know, Feza was just trying to get some gold, man. You didn't have to do that to him.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, though. You need any chance to level the playing field. This has been a very even game, 13-13 at the 20-minute mark, with both teams being less than 1,000 gold away from each other the entire time. I don't think we've seen any real leaps in net worth from either side here, but it's mainly down to Kemps. Kemps has been able to do a great job carrying with these early kills, but now we're going to have to see Madness start to get online. Obviously, rocking a BKB disassembled the Echo Saber, which is a bold idea there. So disassembling the Echo Saber for, you know, a little bit of farm, then being able to pick it back up, I would argue that that could be a smart idea, as he now has the BKB, but this team doesn't care about BKBs that much. They are a ton of right-click damage against this Sven's tankiness, and I think they need to have the real damage. If this Sven doesn't have enough DPS to deal with, you know, the amount of output damage that Tryhard has, it's not going to be looking up for them.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is, I think, the thing when you look at Lifestealer, and especially, like, that rough start, meant that it was maybe not looking so good. You know, you're even saying it's like, what are you going to be able to do when you're dealing against the Centaur that's going to be so tanky like this? But now with Lifestealer has the money, and it's going to be tough to sort of deal with that, especially like you're saying with the trouble hitting him. But now we've got a fight going on. Kemps is going to take a fair bit of damage, but here comes the big kill. Wow, that was just absolutely out of nowhere. I feel like that was almost overkill. Kemps is going to be able to escape with life, though. However, one trade, but that's the entire team going to that bot side.
Wow. I mean, quick trades. That's the thing, though. This Queen of Pain has been caught off guard and out of position so many times. I think the main reason for that is if you're a Queen of Pain player, you're going to be expected that, oh, I have a blink, I can get out of any situation. Apparently not. Apparently not. It gets locked down so fast, and it's just stun lock. The second that you have Dobby's initiation, it's just crazy. But here we have the first Roshan fight, and nobody's going to be alive to really stop them. They can't touch the site, and unfortunately, Roche just gets melted by the Viper, by the Tryhard player, and yeah, they're already at halfway, so there's no chance that anybody can block him. And I think that the Dire know about that. Woofer's fans know that this game one, Roshan one, is already too late, and you better start backing up. Yeah, both teams leaving.
Yeah, I mean, even though we have seen a very, very similar kill count and gold count for all of this game, I feel like Gamax are finally starting to take control, especially after that mid-fight that we saw go horribly wrong. After the re-engage from Woofers tried to come through, Gamax has just been on it ever since. Now with the rush, and with the biggest gold lead, which is only 2,000, bear in mind, but it's still the biggest we've seen this game, coming through finally. It's starting to take that shape, and it's these mid-game team fights that we were talking about that is really where all this impact is coming from. from now. 23 minutes into the game, though, we still could have a very long time to go as the root's going to come through. Woofer's trying to fight back just a little bit. It looks like it's going to work for now as this spam CC, spam roots. Fez has just not been put in the right spot. He's going to get punished for it, and now more kills coming through. Viper's not in a good spot either. Looks like they're trying to get that gold onto Kemps there, but I mean, 3 big kills now, and that's like, you had the rush, you had everything going for you, and now they've just thrown it all away, it feels like.
Yeah, honestly, the way that we saw them being able to pick that back up was insane. I love the fact that they just continued with the gank anyways and found these players out in the jungle. So great read here from Woofer's fans. Now they are in the lead, but Aegis is still in one player's hands, and that is going to be a big pickup here. Madness unable to finish the tower. Obviously, a little bit upset about that. I'm surprised that their entire team left them, but there's no stun to stop Madness from getting out, and he's out just barely before Dobby showed up to get the stun off. And yes, one player died on the way out, but they still managed to take it in their favor. However, it's a full reset. All teams are now alive, and this is where the Aegis is going to be used, pushing down towers. If they can get into high ground with that Aegis at 25 minutes, that's a huge lead for them here, Miwa. Oh no.
Yeah, and now we're seeing Kremps being put in a bit of a rough spot in that topside jungle, but he's going to escape with life. That life stealer now continuing to stay at that topside in terms of gold to that top end, but the gap is getting smaller and smaller. But here comes the re-engage now. Woofer's trying to get something out of it. Snowball comes through. Raze and Fezzer, though, caught off once again in very poor positioning. The entire team's going to be there to turn it around. Both of them going to die, and Fezzer, it just feels like, is never in these fantastic spots. But the turnaround, though, coming in through now. Gamax Tryhard's here, and Tryhard is ripping people to shreds. One kill's going to come through. They're going to look for that second one now. Dobby's here to follow up too. But Wasted Life, also not in a great spot. It looks like this is just going to be a 2-for-2 trade as another pause comes through, because I feel like this game's intensity is turning up slightly.
Yeah, that's not ideal. No, I can agree. Not exactly what they want to be doing here, and should be setting them up here with a little bit of an issue. I will say, though, 2 kills down. Getting this Sven killed is the only goal that they have, and they have managed to do it. It cost them a lot, though, getting rid of your Magnus and your Tusk. Obviously, Tusk is a +4, but it's not that worth it unless you can also maybe shut down Kemps. This is a Centaur who's been running around rampant here for no real reason. You've given him way too much space, way too much credit where credit's due. Obviously, Kemps has been doing so much for this team in that initiation, in that real DPS, but if he doesn't get a shard soon, or he doesn't get a heart, maybe even a Shiva soon, then they're going to fall off. That's the power of, a lot of investment in mobility. This player is not set up for the late game. They need this game to end in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, and you know what? That timer is going to start ticking, and with these teams continuing to play so even, so far, I'd almost say that it's maybe not going in their direction as it currently stands. But we are definitely seeing a lot of these overextensions right now from Gamax, causing them to be punished and causing Woofers to show more and more life in this game. And here's the thing, Gamax, I feel like across the board have had more control in this game. We saw them get the rush, we saw them get a lot of really big fights, but it just feels like these tiny little mistakes that are coming through, especially on a player like Fezzer, which is getting overextended and caught all the time, really is difficult to say, well, I feel like Gamax have got control of this game, because I feel like in some cases they haven't even got control of their team. But here we go, Blade Moose ready for that engage onto Fezzer. The big play coming in. Lifesteal has now been brought out. Kemps in a rough spot, really low HP, and he's just so fast you cannot escape the hungry one on all fours, chasing after you. Tryhard on a killing spree now, getting that 16k gold, and now really getting a big gap in comparison to everyone else in this game.
Yeah, Tryhard, the farm has just been insane. Having the armlet for a ton of damage, and also talking about a ton of damage, that empower that Magnus applies to him. This is now, you have a Sven, well, we have a Magnus and Lifestealer. We have your carry, and this one happens to be a lot more farmed, but this Aegis only has 50 seconds remaining. No one wants to fight. They need to wait it out. Unfortunately, after they take this tier 2, they aren't going to be able to push into tier 3. Actually, they're not even going to be able to push at all, as they have backed it up. They know that they're getting ganked here, and they don't want to be caught off guard. Wasted Life is getting a ton of information here. We'll try to harass a bit to scare these players back, but these 2 supports, I think, are biting off a bit more than they can chew. They don't have any of the carries with them, and if they stay around, they will be killed.
Yeah, you can even see right now Gamax sort of grouping up a little bit. I think after being caught out a few times, they're a little bit too scared to really go for those re-engages and try and like pressure the map as a smaller group of people. And even though I genuinely think that they are stronger right now, especially with a Lifestealer with that much of a lead, because I feel like Lifestealer is the person who's got them ahead on gold right now, I do still feel like they are a bit too scared to make those plays because Woofers right now are starting to take that control, you know. I'm going to talk about that timer ticking and it's now causing these kind of plays to happen. But we're seeing something here. All players looking to go through. Is this going to be... are we seeing a big play? Are we going to see something huge here?
I would hope so. I mean, if you're investing in a smoke, you need to find someone. The problem is they're on the opposite side of the map, and that smoke is going to run out in about 5-10 seconds here. So, could have been the best play. However, if they're not going to catch anyone off guard, they have just wasted about 45 seconds of their time that they could have spent farming. They could have spent pushing lanes, starting to, put pressure on these, tier 3s, tier 2s, and yet they didn't. So could have been great, but the final tier 1 is finally about to fall as they just need to finish it off here, and that's going to open up the map. Now both teams are even when it comes to how much space they have to work with.
Yep, and I mean, like, speaking of space, there is absolutely no space between these teams right now as we're literally seeing no gold difference going on right now, which is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a Dota 2 game getting 30 minutes in when the largest difference has been 2,000 and continuously being swapping every minute or so. Like, I feel like, and again, this is sort of what we expected. We sort of expected these teams to decide to play it a little bit on that slower side, feel each other out a little bit, especially feeling out that new patch. And however, feeling it out this much, this feels like neither team really wants to bite. But that is game 1 of any best of 3. We usually see them going a little bit more like this, but they're playing on the opposite sides of the maps. Like, what is going on right now?
Honestly, I think what's going on is that both teams are reading for something that's not there yet. The one thing that will answer that is when Roche comes back online. Dude is cooking up here in a second. I believe he will be back for us in 1 minute. So 1 minute until the game actually heats up, and that also sets us at the 30-minute mark. And if we can get into the 30-minute mark with a Roshan kill, the game might be over soon. I think that one team has the pushing power that if they are given enough space, that team being Gamax, they will be able to run it down. So I think Woofers understands that. They know that one mess up, one mistake, one trip, and they are falling down this flight of stairs.
Yeah, and we're seeing the third pause come through. Maybe it is these sort of technical pauses, or tactical pauses, sorry, not technical, for these teams to really just be like, okay, well, what are we doing? Like you were saying, this rush is coming up. We've got to try and figure something out because we cannot go into this without a plan. This is going to be the decider of the game. Like you were saying, that 10-minute timer does mean that we're probably gonna be finding ourselves in almost who's going to be winning this game in these next few minutes, which is pretty crazy, honestly, if you'd ask me, especially with such a game that's been so close. The fact that we could be seeing that closing part very, very soon is going to be big. And, which player do you think from both of these sides really has to step up in this next fight with Roche coming up?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. They are going to have to step up to the plate here. And the main concern that I'm having is look at that win probability, how it's just been fluctuating so fast. That's how you can tell it's been a close game. Now, this team and this stat thinks that the game is having a higher win probability on the side of the Radiant, of the Dire. They think Gamax isn't going to be able to take it back. I would disagree for only one reason. Lifestealer. This guy is farmed, this guy is fed, and level 20 should be able to, carry their team. Obviously, right now, Woofers fans is better off in the grand scheme of things, level-wise. They have scaled up faster, they have decent amount of experience gained, they've taken advantage of what is available in the map for, farm, for leveling a lot more often. They haven't gone for these crazy smoke ganks that we keep seeing Gamax go for. And that's why they're taking the lead right now. They have spent more time focusing on what is going to make them win this game before the 40-minute mark, while you're looking at a team that wants to win it in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this goes back down to what you were talking about, the draft and, what both of these teams were picking up. And there was nothing, I think, at least for me personally, I don't think there was anything that really really struck out for me too much on the Woofer side. Like you were talking about, this very, very tanky comp and a very, I suppose, in your face, difficult to play against comp. And I feel like that's why Gamax hasn't had this strong start to the game that they were maybe hoping for. But with this lifestealer that just is getting stronger and stronger, like you were saying, level 20, 2 levels above almost everyone else in the game, does mean that in this next fight for Rosh could just be the case that they're going to try and use that maybe more difficult to play against team comp to lock down Lifestealer. But with the itemization of Lifestealer so far, it's going to be it's going to be tough to say the least. I do. Oh, there we go. Finally, the game unpaused. I was about to say, I do think we have maybe some more serious issues that the players are still not going, but here they go. And now finally heading closer and closer and closer towards that rush, and closer and closer and closer towards a team finally getting a more substantial lead in this game. I mean, talking about substantial, maybe the big fight coming in here is a bit of a catch as well. Woofer's losing out on Kemp's there, and again, Kemp's getting caught out. Not good timing for all things considered. Now so much map control is going to go in the hands of Gamax as Tryhard is able to just eat up this tower. Never mind the fortified structures, the attack speed is coming in big, and now pushing down that mid does mean that Rosh is going to be so much easier to do.
Yeah, I mean, they have only 1 tower to go if they want to be walking out of this laning stage with success. And rest in peace to that courier. Didn't have to punch it. A recent courier changes as well, instantly killed by any melee attack. You don't have to walrus punch it. That's just to flex. But of course, looking at this, looking at how these guys have been able to, you know, take full control over the map, it's about these picks that we've had happen. The Queen of Pain gets picked off so early. Kemps not being here, I mean, you guys are lining up for a fight that you cannot win. Kemps is your main initiation, and you're gonna have to rely heavily on the fact that you have the Treant Protector. But Raze, he's got an invis rune. They are none the wiser. Oh my god. And then they go, they spot him, they got him, and they kill him instantly. But the team fight is not over. They want to clean up. They might just have to run out. Unfortunately, that's a bot back on the Tusk. Tusk is going to try to TP in immediately, and yep, he's already back into the fight. But Kemps is online as well. What an ultimate, though. That's massive. Exactly what you need from an RP. But there is the Sven, and they are spanking him. 1 hit, 2 hit, triple kill. Might be able to find another one, but on the work cart, he's just going for a ride right now. Needing to find more, but wait, we got a whole other fight happening. What is going on top of that observer tower? There it is, another great angle, an ultra kill. Can we see the rampage? You just have to find it, but no, the shutdown. Tryhard is fully HP'd now. They're going to be cleaning it up. No ultra kill, maybe no more kills for this team entirely as they have to run.
I mean, all things considered, it's still a pretty even fight. It's actually still ended pretty evenly, and we're actually maybe going to see Tryhard get that kill onto Krems here. Fez is coming with the follow through, but I don't think it's going to be off. The snowball coming through here onto Blade Moose, though. It doesn't look like it's over yet. They're so scared of Tryhard. They do not want to go anywhere close. The counter snowball turning it back around. Africa looking for a bit more of that damage, and the overextension comes through. More kills coming in for Woofers, now with a 3k gold lead, as Gamax had so much potential in that fight, and I feel like they just threw it away towards the end.
Yeah, unfortunate that they weren't able to hold it down too well there, but I will say, I like the fact that we had that ultra kill come through and showcase what this Sven has needed to do is finally back online. But what was the wrench in the Kaga machine there? It was the Lifestealer who just decimated this near rampaging Sven. So if they don't have an answer for Lifestealer, they're not going to be able to do much unless they, you know, start pushing high ground. Lifestealer cannot defend in that position. So I don't know. I think both teams still have an even chance at winning it, but based off of that last team fight, this team of Woofers wants to be taking game 1 pretty soon.
Yeah, and they want to be taking this game 1 pretty soon, and they've got this advantage now going on to Rosh now. So this is going to be the play that they need to make it, and I think they need to make it in this Rosh window. I think that they do need to at least attempt to show some more signs of life, but we are now seeing Gamax try to contest it slightly, but it's just too little too late. Rosh is going to fall down. Tryhard doesn't look like it's over yet, though, as now Gamax are going to try and take this fight. Raze gets that engage onto Africa. Africa's going to turn around, and there we go. One big kill to start the fight. Dobby's going to go down, and now it's not looking too good. Raze isn't in such a good spot either. Feza does try and get the snowball into the backline, but here we go, Tryhard coming in. Doesn't have the HP, but it doesn't matter because it's Lifesteal keeping all the health up. You can look at that health bar just flying up right now. Blade Moose trying to support from the backlines. Africa's still alive, sitting in on the side. Only a 2-for-1 trade so far in favor of Woofers. Kemps just isn't dying though. Tryhard keeping it going. Kemps is looking like the escape is going to be made, and Woofers somehow are able to leave this fight with a 1-kill advantage. What was that?
That was insane. That was also a dieback twice now from this Tusk here. So that was insane. I mean, how did Kemps walk away? He juked so beautifully. He was able to weave and bob right in between that player. And honestly, it had to have been this Queen of Pain. The Shiva's Guard to slow people down, the dagger to slow him down. Unfortunately, Tryhard had to pop the Manta style to get the speed for it, and they weren't able to kill him. So that fight alone, they were at a 2k gold or 3k gold lead. Now they're at 5k and have Aegis. They have been taking this back so beautifully, and they haven't had to worry about the Aegis switch up, the Roshan changes yet, because they have been going team to team. So we'll see how it continues in this next one, but so far we're looking at a team that wants to lock this down. So Miwa, what are your predictions after looking 35 minutes into this game?
Honestly, I think it's a tough call. It's a tough call. I think that Woofers have got this, but they just need to speed it up slightly more again. It doesn't feel like Woofers are the ones that are making the plays right now. It does feel like Gamax are almost handing them on a silver platter in some cases. So I really hope that we can see a bit more aggression from Woofers, especially because, yes, I guess in a way you could say that they've won that fight. But for me, the way I see it, the way I've seen this fight go, it does sort of feel to me, at least, that you can't really deal too well with this Lifestealer. I don't feel like the prep for this Lifestealer is fully there. They've not actually killed Lifestealer in any of these fights, and I don't feel like you can just keep avoiding it. I feel like you have to find a way to kill it, and they just haven't found that yet. So if they can figure out how to deal with this Lifestealer, I think the game is absolutely theirs, but they need to figure it out soon, because like we were saying, time is ticking, and this lead will slowly mean less and less as time goes on.
Yeah, honestly, I like what we're seeing, but that lead should be able to get dwindled down once the turtling stage comes through. You know, this is where you have the high ground. You have a Magnus that can pull people under that tier 3 tower. You have the Fortify, which amplifies the damage. You have everything going for you, except the fact that you're down 8k net worth, and a Sven is walking around with 6 slot and an Aegis. So, I mean, good luck in this next one. You're going to need it, but what you also have to worry about here is the fact that your Lifestealer is falling off if he cannot get up close and personal, if you can't support him, and they have been doing a great job picking off these supports.
Yeah, no, they definitely have, and, you know, especially with just, I think, the way that they approach some of these fights, they definitely have better prio, I suppose, and now finally Lifestealer dropping behind from that top spot in gold is now very, very, very even. Does mean that Madness could have a bit more impact and maybe try and deal with it, but at the same time, it's just such a hard one to deal with, especially into the comp that they're currently running. So we'll just have to see how they turn around and do it. They now are applying a lot of pressure on the Radiant side of the map. So, I mean, it feels like Gamax, if they make one slip up, it's all over for them. However, I mean, honestly, you could say that for both teams, but I think Gamax are definitely the ones that are in pressure of flat out losing the game on the next big mistake that they make here. Wasted Life does spot out Tryhard, though, but nothing's going to come of it. Maybe just getting that information does mean for the rest of the team that it's going to be a little bit easier to play on the other side of the map, but we'll just have to wait and see. Wasted Life's getting a lot of info here, and here we are finally maybe seeing this collapse. And there it is. There's the collapse we were looking for. It was waited for so long. 2 kills going to go down straight away, opening up this fight. What a fantastic start. Double kill for Madness, and now turning it back around. Tryhard's in a really bad spot. Isn't going to be able to lifesteal through this one as Africa gets that kill. 4 kills, and that is exactly what they needed to try and close out this game, as they're looking for blood, and Viper is not going to be left alive to tell the tale, as Madness now coming in, getting that big damage off, all kills down, and now it's just a case of how fast can they push.
Yeah, honestly, looking at this one and seeing how everybody's been locked in, they need a push now. Obviously, Madness is going to be relying on this Mask of Madness to get a little bit of heals back, but unfortunately, they haven't taken any towers. They haven't taken the initiative here, and that's not going to be ideal. But looking at that gold change, minus 1k, you're supposed to be getting closer and closer, but the EXP, that just launched them so far forward that there's not a lot of comeback mechanics here, especially when your team's dead. If they take this tier 3, we do have one Fortify available, but no way. Come on, you can't be that mean. Wait, that is a dead Tusk. Oh my God, right out of spawn. I mean, can't even get into the next zone for the fight. We do have the Fortify coming back, but there's only 2 players to defend it. However, the Fortify will scare them back enough to instead target mid tier 2. They take this, all chance at megas is available in the after the next team fight.
I mean, maybe even sooner, honestly, because we're still not seeing Lifestealer available, so they might even be able to try and take some more of these barracks before Lifestealer comes up. 5 seconds, probably not going to be enough time, but I mean, at the same time, to get that much pressure on the map, and not only that, look at the gold. 21,000 gold lead. Even though maybe they're not going to be lasting too well into this late game, I don't think it matters when you have that big of a lead right now, especially Lifesteal is literally the only saving grace, and they've just figured out a way to deal with it. As we saw from that last fight, Tryhard just didn't get an opportunity to properly get in there, properly do some damage, and be the Lifestealer that he's meant to be. But I mean, there's still that possibility. We still can see Gamax come back with this one. We've seen them get some good picks so far, and especially from that scaling that they have, there is that possibility, though I think we can both agree it's looking pretty slim right now.
Yeah, it's not easy, but looking at another clean pick, though, Wasted Life is down. No more. Are they going to be able to have that counter initiation? The root is gone, and I don't think Wasted Life is going to be using any buyback, so they're just gone for 60 seconds. But Kemps caught out there chasing, and Kemps might not be able to get out. No, just kidding. The counter initiation, they're diving on this. Bye-bye to Tusk. What a play style. Might be able to find another one. Raze trying to dash on in, but you're not finding anybody. That is a big trade up, and look at that. The BM Kemps tipping the team, but they're just not done. They want more. That's a big one, but the counter ultimate, this is huge. They have locked down this player, but the Satanic is here, and they are cooking. They are swinging. They are just beating this guy down. And that, I think, is the game-winning fight here for us, Miwa. There's not enough buybacks to bounce back unless they might be able to do enough damage here. No, they have no damage.
Well, you know, it was a pretty speedy end. I'm just saying that was fast. That was fast out of nowhere, you know. And we sort of expected it to happen, but at the same time, I was hoping that Gamax were maybe going to try and play around it a little bit more, but they just didn't have the opportunity. And now it does look like Woofers are going to be able to just take it down. We're already seeing the DCs come through. Woofers are going to be the winners of game number 1. But at the same time, this is close. This, like, even though right now this does not look close by any means, this was close up until this game, or actually the reconnects come through. Maybe it's not even over yet, but with all these supers that are going to be happening, I think we can quite well assume that this isn't going to last for much longer, if at all.
Well, Mega Creeps are easy to defend when you have a Magnus, because you just give everyone on your team a cleave, and they have a very powerful team to try to defend against it. The problem, though, is that everyone's dead, and we're still not seeing many people push besides this Quap. They're sticking around because they know they can get... If they can get this tower down, or at least open the doorway for the creeps to take, they're not taking the building in front of the tower, which means that creeps are not going to be able to finish the job for quite some time. So we could be experiencing another 10 minutes in this game at the minimum here. But, Roche, you're back up. Let's hear that roar. After it gets to 10%, should be able to see that new update, and this team is going to know. And there's the roar. So, they know exactly what's going on. They should try to rotate, but they can't. The Mega Creeps are just buying too much time for them, and they're not going to be able to touch this Roche in time. This is probably the last Aegis we see this game.
Yeah, and there we go. Falling down. Santa Hat's going to go flying. And now, well, this is it, you know. We've got the 33k gold lead. It's Gamax. The fact that Gamax are still putting in the effort, I respect it. Honestly, I massively respect it. At this point, I think I would have given up, because I would be terrified looking down the barrel of just that big of a gold lead, really. Like, that's more gold than probably some of the players actually have on Gamax, period. So it's almost like an entire player advantage, you could almost see it as. But either way, maybe there is still that hope. We still have quite a lot of megas into the base. Gamax are literally just having to sit right now, waiting for these minions to push up just to kill them, try and stop these creeps from pushing the base, but at the same time, they're not able to get anything themselves. Like you were saying about the Rorschach, we heard the Rorschach roll go off. Gamax don't even have the time to react to it because they're just dealing with so many creeps all the time. But Ray's here, maybe a little bit overextended, and it absolutely is. And Africa's going to get that kill, bring it to that monster kill streak. And now it's going to be a 4 versus 5. It's doomed.
You know, I didn't want to agree with you, but I will. Yeah, doomed is the best word for it. This is, all impending death coming around you. You have so much 34,000 gold difference, by the way. 34,000. I mean, that is the net worth of 2 of the players. Actually, no, 4 of the players. I mean, what is that? So just they're cashing out here. But as the game is now going towards an end, they have to figure out how to defend it. They don't have their Magnus to counter ultimate, but they do have the Tusk. That's a jump in. That's a lot of damage. But wait a minute, it's not done. There is the awesome ultimate with the root coming down on top. A huge sonic wave is going to do a ton of damage to the rest. And unfortunately, Ray's bought back just for this moment. They need to try to stop him, but that is a temporary fix. There's an Aegis in that Sven's hands, and up he goes. All the buybacks are coming through, and Madness just wants to end the game. They know that they have to do the damage, and unfortunately, this is going to be a reset. They have managed to keep their towers alive. Just kidding.
Just kidding. But I mean, yeah, with this many creeps in the base, how do you even keep anything alive? Like you're saying, oh yeah, with the Tusk and the Viper especially, like maybe they can try and like keep these towers alive. But look at that, it's a swarm, and like don't even have to do anything on the dire side here because they can just sit here and watch these creeps storm down the base. And when there is any sort of, I guess, attempt, Madness just turns around, ends it all. Towers are going to go down, and now it's just left to the base, but more and more minions, creeps just keep pouring in and pouring in. There's nothing that can really be done at this point. The game is over. A 43k gold lead to close us off. They're looking for more. They're playing this game for gold. They have been for the last 30 or so seconds, and they just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. We literally see them in the Nexus, ending it out. That is game number 1 for Woofer fans, which was a pretty close game until we got to that. As soon as Woofers hit that 5k gold lead, it was like, yeah, this is looking bad, and then it was over. So that was pretty quick finish.
I can give you the exact minute the game ended. Once we saw that fight, and in the jungle where they ganked the team with the Aegis, and they got that triple kill, they completely just stomped any chance that they had of bringing it back. They got a huge lead. The second it reached 8k gold, they didn't lose any afterwards. So, I mean, great job from that team. I think that Woofers really came up strong here in game 1, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to repeat that. Obviously, they made quite a few mistakes in the early game that just weren't really executed as powerfully that I would have expected. They weren't punished enough for a lot of the mistakes they were making. So that could say a lot about their team, but it says a lot more about Gamax. They weren't able to really turn it around in their favor. But in this next game, as long as you don't have one of those game-losing throws, you should be able to maybe, just maybe, bring us into map number 3 or game number 3.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, if Woofers going to have an end-game performance like they did just then, I think that's going to be a very, very, very difficult one to really see coming. We are going to have some highlights come through very, very shortly, but before we go into that, what are some, I know you mentioned some there, but what do you think were some of the early game highlights from those games?
Early game highlights, I would have to say what we saw with the ganks constantly. The way that they were able to balance each other out. When we saw the triple kill come through with the counter ganking. When the ultimate from the RP was dropped and they came back in, we saw the Hoodwink have some amazing plays down in mid. Pretty much mid was the highlight of where these great plays were. You saw a lot of rotations that fell on deaf ears for one team, Gamax specifically, and that I think is what kind of set it up for us here. But of course, as I want to wait and see those highlights. We're going to have to send it to a quick break, and then we'll jump right back in with those. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with game 2 and some highlights.
Let's do this, Abu Dhabi! Let's do this, Abu Dhabi! Let's do this, Abu Dhabi!
You say, my darling, you're a liar.
Shivers my spine so cold, so swimming in the rivers, swimming in the rivers. I'm trying to let go of what's broken, go but you ain't no one
Hello, it's been a long, long time. Can't get you off my tired mind. Shadow, let the tape rewind and finally ease my anxious eyes. Oh no, I feel you creeping in, my body bleeding sin. I'm drowning. Heaven, can you save me now from these thoughts inside my head? God, you are the devil, running through my mind. I can't get on your level. I swear to God I tried. I am not under your spell. Turn around and get ahead. You cannot be anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil. so hard to save. Hallowed by my love for you, always stop me going under. Follow every step I take, cause our walls are coming down. Yeah, you are the devil, running through my mind. I can't get on your level, I swear to God I tried. I am not after your spell. Turn around and turn ahead. You cannot be anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil.
Let's do this, Abu Dhabi! 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 Let's do this, Abu Dhabi!
right, what a little bit of a break to get everything set up for us again. The scoreboard from that last game, I am intrigued to see what we're going to be able to look at on there. But of course, my name is Miwa. No, my name is Edu. I'm joined by Miwa. Hi, Miwa.
Well, hi, Miwa. We're back, but we got the scoreboard going, and honestly, I expected forever on the Lifestealer to have just a little bit more kills than that, but straight from that, straight into the draft. We got a bit of a soft look on that. I mean, the game was close the entire time. It just blew up at the end. If you missed it, you need to go and check that one out in the VOD because that was an explosive ending to a game. But now, what are you expecting from both teams here?
Well, what I need to see here is definitely a team composition that, if you're going to go tanky, you're going to have to ban Lifestealer. You saw how much of a hindrance that was. It really slowed you down if you're Woofer's fans. But they're going to go with some default bans. Obviously, Gamax, they don't want to have Kemp's Centaur anymore, so banning that outright, you can see that they are trying to counter ban a team. Well, you look at Woofers, and they just have hard bans. They know what this other team is. Two of the previous characters that Woofers brought have already not been as an option anymore. And Woofers doesn't even care. They're banning the exact same first four. So honestly, I think that how this game's going to go is going to be Woofers doing what they do best. They have a lot of flex players with many different heroes that they have under their belt. Gamax, I don't think understands that.
Yeah, and you know what? I think maybe it'll take I would say maybe it'll take a game to realize that, but they haven't got a game anymore with if this Gamax have to win this one. Gamax cannot afford to lose it. And the Shadow Demon pick again, you were just saying during our break that Shadow Demon is not the pick that you want to be taking. So to go for it again, what are you thinking right now?
I mean, obviously it did wonders in the early game for to banish and have that long range stun and being able to set up your team for success. Counterpoint, where was that in the late game? Non-existent. So if we see these players having a bunch of real problems in this qualifier, it's going to come down to the fact that they are going for the same strat over and over again, expecting it to work differently. And I don't know about you, but where I'm from, that's called insanity. You know, you don't want to try something until it works. You need to try to maybe tweak some things. Having Shadow Demon as your first pick, not exactly ideal, but Phoenix being picked up by Woofer fans makes sense. This is their insta lock almost every single time I watch them play. The only reason we didn't get to see a Phoenix is because it was banned last game. So looking at this Phoenix pick, I know that it's going to be in Wasted Life's hands probably, and it's going to just shred through this team.
Yeah, the Phoenix isn't one that I personally see all too much, so I'm really excited to see Phoenix at least. And I'm also excited to see the comp that we're going to see around Phoenix in this game. And we're just going to start to see that take shape now as second pick's going to start coming through for Woofer. And a Hoodwink pick. Okay, this is, I think, exactly the same pick that we saw in the last game, which it seemed to work out for them pretty well. So do you think they're going to look for that similar sort of game plan?
I think that the Phoenix and Hoodwink have been their main picks that they get. I think Blade Moose is one of the best Hoodwink players I've seen consistently lock that character in an esports setting. So honestly, I think that it's not so much that they're going for the same strats overall, but the first two supports, this is their hard mains. These are the two characters that you don't want to give them. So the fact that they haven't banned Phoenix or Hoodwink tells me that Gamax Esports has not done their research.
Well, I mean, do the research, especially when we already had Woofer fans play a game, to have not done your research on that game could be seen as pretty poor planning. You know, you actually, I was saying earlier, you had that advantage. Woofer fans have played a game. You can look through that VOD. You can see what they did. You might want to change your strategy a little bit around that to then let these two picks through is quite abysmal. So, I mean, maybe they got something up their sleeves, and clearly it's not going to be the Shadow Demon from what we spoke about. They're already eating into a lot of their reserve time. They've not even gotten the second pick locked in yet with it down into that final minute. So it'll be really interesting to see what this pick is, and especially what that answer to Hoodwink and Phoenix are going to be in this pick. And 45 seconds, this is not looking good. You don't want to be spending this much time this early on. Are they already stuck?
Oh, here we go. And the pick is going to be a Storm Spirit. So that's a bold pickup here. The fact that they spent that much amount, over 2 minutes, to think about just that single pick tells me that they're scared. Gamax Esports, they want to be able to qualify for the playoffs. There's only 4 teams that are going to be moving on, so you can't get crushed yet. Storm Spirit, though, is a character that definitely brings a lot of gank ability. We saw that in how they like to play. If Raze is going to be picking that up, it's going to be very strong in the mid. But I said that about the Viper, and they didn't bring Viper into mid. They brought it into off lane. Marcy, another character that might be brought into the off lane here. Honestly, having a Storm pause 4 could be doable, but this order of operations that they've got going on right now is mainly to try to, be unresolved, be somebody who is putting a lot of fear into the enemy team. Because if you leave Storm Spirit uncountered or undealt with in your picks, you're going to be SOL. So I like the fact that they brought it. It's just very questionable to bring it this early.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see if they can end up trying to turn that into something positive. I'm not really seeing anything that particularly stands out to me right now for Gamax, so I'm really hoping these last 2 picks can really bring their team alive. However, on the side of Woofer, we're about to get this 3rd pick locked in. I'm hoping to see something that's more similar to how they played last game. I think they played last game really well, and I think it definitely was not the kind of playstyle that Gamax like playing into. So I'd really like them to see a bit more of that similar direction. However, we have seen some slightly more targeted bans this time around, so it might make the comp that they're gunning for just that slightly more difficult to achieve. But either way, I think they've already gotten 2 of their big picks, like we've been already talking about, locked in. But here we go, pick coming through, and it's going to be Outworld Destroyer, which is definitely a scary pick to see.
Oh, that's funny. When did they call him Outworld Destroyer? He used to be Outworld Devourer for the longest time. Anyways, looking at this, we also have Mars to combo in. The team fight potential from Phoenix, OD, and Mars that's scary. That's really scary. A little bit concerned here for the side of the Radiant here, but they have an opportunity to try to counterpick. As we looked at the bans here from Woofer fans, we didn't see any ban of any character they previously saw Gamax play. That's a flex. You don't care what these guys were confident in last. Now, banning a Magnus on your own team. Your Magnus was probably one of your strongest suits when he wasn't outperformed in the positioning department, but they got 20 seconds to pick 2 characters. They might just have randoms here. And, I'm all for getting into a game 3. Spectre definitely might make it happen, but so far, this team is sporadic in its efficiency.
Yeah, and you know what? We're going to have to see something come from them, because sticking at the comp like they have right now, maybe... I don't know. I feel like for me, the Gamax comp is more of a shot in the dark. I feel like this could potentially be comfort picks on the side of them rather than looking for a really specific good comp. But it's one of those as well. We just have to wait and see what they're able to do with it. There is a few directions. And I'm really hoping that they can try and pick one out of the dust as quickly as they can, because they've not got that much time to round out that comp. Now bans are starting to come through, and what are we thinking of these bans here?
Well, looking at the bans that we've seen, obviously, I think that what Woofers did was they just don't want to see Pugna, Lion, Visage, Chen. That was their first 4 bans. Now that we're at the last stages, I think what they need to ban out is somebody who can have survivability a little bit more. This team from Gamax is incredibly squishy. I would expect a ban on Bristleback. Hell, maybe even a ban on... Center's already banned, but a ban on... Oh, wait, Mars is picked. Primal Beast. If they don't ban Primal, they're going to run into a real issue here. Primal Beast brings that CC, brings that stun, also brings a nigh unkillable lizard onto the battlefield. So, I think that banning that might be a smart idea. Obviously, if they don't ban it, Gamax, are they going to pick it? Looks like they banned Brewmaster. Brewmaster is a great pick here for tankiness and team fight, but Primal's still on the table here. We got 1 final ban, 20 seconds for the final pick, and I don't know. I still think Woofers is setting themselves up for insane success. They just need to have something that can catch people off guard. But here's the pick: Slardar as the tank off lane.
Okay. Honestly, again, still nothing that's really screaming to me in that team. But I mean, I'm willing to be, I guess, I'm willing to be corrected in that side of things. And we have a lot of reserve time for Woofer here. And, you know, what kind of pick are we wanting to see Woofer go for as his final pick, do you think, into the Slardar?
I think the pick that we're going to be expecting into Slardar is somebody who either can brawl toe-to-toe with him or someone who can just sit so far back and nuke him down. Honestly, a Drow Ranger might be a really solid pick against this team comp that we have. Maybe even somebody who can break easily, someone who builds a Shadow Blade, you know, Sniper. Very rarely picked at high level play because it's easy to counter when there's a Spectre. Not on the table for us. Storm Spirit, not on the table. So you don't want anybody that's too far behind your team because Storm and Spectre can just get on top of you. So you're going to need a brawler. You're going to need somebody like Chaos Knight. You're going to need somebody that can really shut down the Spectre here. So I'm thinking CK. I'm thinking we might see a Sven again if we really want to. Sven's solid against Shadow Demon and Spectre for that regard. But with 7 seconds left, they're going to have to pick it, or here we go. Luna, a ranged carry, but not too far back, balances itself out. I like it.
Okay, honestly, I'm liking the comp too. I'm really, really excited to see what we're going to be getting ourselves into. Woofer fans, if you missed it, took game 1 very, very, very well. And now heading into this game number 2, we're hoping to try and make it a very clear-cut, quick, and easy game number 2. However, Gamax still not over yet. They can still pull this one through. They can still definitely win this. However, only time will tell. And especially this early game, I think, is going to be pretty important to both of these sides, unlike it was in the last game. Especially now Gamax on the last foot, they've got to do something to really come online.
Yeah, honestly, I think that Luna does fall off versus Spectre, depending on how the Spectre plays around their team and plays around getting these ganks. That's the main power that Spectre brings. If you see him on the minimap, if you see him on the map at all, you can teleport right to him and beat the life out of him. So looking at this game, we see immediately they're going for a smoke rotate. They want to push right in. Good luck, good luck. Everybody is ready to have some fun here. I think that, you know, at the end of the day, it's about having fun, but game 3 is going to be a hard fought entrance here. Now, based off of the last game, Miwa, we know that they didn't go for any evasion or invasion, sorry, and now they're going to be jumping right on in. They know that this team goes bottom and they want first blood, and if they can catch out Raze that mid, oh, that might just be a dead player. Oh, great stun into a banish, and yeah, that is insta killed.
Yeah, that's a rough start. You know, we didn't see a lot of combat between these teams in these other games, but now we're finally seeing it come through. Now it's 2 big stuns in a row, followed by some stuns on the fly. More coming through and looking like they actually might lose the Luna. Luna's going to fall down. And now that's 1 kill for each side here, but the fight isn't over yet. Forever getting especially low. Chems is going to try and be able to get away from this one. And now Anko not in a good spot either. Banish will come through. Life's going to get low, and that is 3 kills to Woofer in the first 20 seconds of this game, or the first minute of this game, which is going to be very, very substantial to say the least.
Yeah, you know, talk about substantiality. That was all 3 cores. That was your mid, your off lane, and your safe lane carries. All dead in the first negative 20 seconds of the match. So that's pretty solid. We do know that unfortunately, it is also going to be 2 bounties. So if you are on the Radiant side, you are disappointed in that, you know, the Storm Spirit died, doesn't have a lot of XP now from all of those kills. The first one down is the first one not to be able to be ruled out there. So Kemp starting off on Mars. Mars is also a character that could nuke so hard against a squishy team. This Slardar is going to have to really build a fast harpoon if they want to be up close and personal and start fighting pretty tough. But this is kind of reminiscent of something. Dobby versus Blade Moose. They have been duking this same lineup out, Shadow Demon versus Hoodwink, since the last game. Let's see if they learned anything about how that went.
I mean, what we learned from how that went is that Woofers were definitely in a little bit more control, especially for those early parts there, but it definitely seems like now Dobby now has got that little bit more knowledge, a little bit more of an advantage, is going to get slightly more damage, especially the early damage. We'll talk about that zoning in that top side, but maybe we're going to see some more zoning in that bot side this time. However, this is a lane that I would like to talk about. Raze and Africa definitely played it very, very slow, very, very safe. Not many engages. The only fights ever being ganks. Do you think we're going to see a very similar story, or do you think this is going to be a little bit more explosive?
I think when it comes to mid right here, they know that they have to gank this OD. Obviously, it's one of their top priorities. The problem, though, is that OD has very quick base movement speed, a ton of damage, and doesn't have to worry about mana. That's OD's strength. You don't have to care how much mana this OD has, as long as they have their, like, each of their QWE, you're gonna just have a bad time. And looking at this bad time right now, Raze is getting harassed out. They're a full level behind. Not looking too great early into this game, but we are seeing some trades happen anyways. A little bit of death on the Luna up in top here is not too grand. That's the second time Luna's been kind of taken aback here.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, it wasn't a pick that I was personally expecting, and maybe it's not going to be the pick that's going to work out for them as well as they had hoped. But at the same time, I'd still like to see, and we've still got a lot of time left in this game. I feel like Luna's one of those heroes that you're definitely going to see a lot more of in those mid to later stages of the game rather than the early part. So, I mean, I've got a little bit of hope there, at least personally. Storm Spirit, though, like you're saying, could potentially have some more of that impact, but again, it was that bold pick, was that pick that I don't think either of us necessarily would have directly called out, but we did see it banned in the previous game, so maybe that's why they didn't go for it this time. Maybe it's that comfort pick, who knows? There's still a lot more to see in this game so far, and especially I think the lane that I'm at least personally most excited about is this bot side, like we were talking about earlier. We had that matchup between Dobby and Blade Moose, so maybe we'll try and see something a bit more calculated down there, but it's still very early in this game to tell. And, you know, we did have that early advantage come out from the Dire side there, but if that's going to be the same amount working later on, maybe, who knows, we'll have to see. Feza can allow that trade there, but overall, I'm feeling there's a bit more dominance for Woofers at the top, in the top and bot right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going okay, but mid is where I really need to see these players like start to balance it out. Obviously, Africa Pride not really going for, you know, early aggression, more so just I get my lane for free. I mean, Raze is out of bottle charges, doesn't have any chance at healing, and is zoned out completely. Pretty much every lane is zoned out completely. We're seeing just a real early domination here from this, and look at that, Raze, you don't have any HP left. If you stay in mid, Africa can just nuke you. Luckily, there is a single water drop that's going to be coming. No, wait. He's going to be stealing the bounty rune from the other team. That's a great idea, because not only does that team not get money anymore, but he gets his heals back. But we might be seeing another kill here. Yep, dead on one. Can be a double kill. Honestly, will be a double kill here for top lane.
Yeah, I mean, wow, now 6 kills up. We're actually seeing our first proper lead in the early stages of the game form for us right now. We haven't actually seen much of a lead form in these early stages in that last game, so to see something happening this time around, that's definitely speaking a little bit more to me. But it's still early stages, a lot more can still happen. Woofers, though, I feel like are on their game, and maybe it just took them that first part of the first half of that first game to really come online, really show us what they're made of, because I feel like this is a very different Woofers early game to what we saw in the last game. And do you think it's maybe coming from Woofers finally coming online, or do you think it might be coming from Gamax having mental boomed a little bit from the end of that first game and now aren't playing on top of their game?
I think right now it's more just like we saw it in the picks. These guys are not confident in what's going on with their team. They didn't really have a plan for what would happen if they lost game one. At least they wanted to be able to, you know, repeat something if it was successful. But this is what they came in, their comfort picks, and they don't have that comfortability anymore. And you can see that they're now down 2k net worth. I mean, the last game was incredibly close because they had picks that they were a lot more confident in, the life stealer, etc., etc. But I don't know. I think it's not going to be too easy for them to be able to bounce it back. I also noticed that Forever is on carry instead of the other player we had on a life stealer. So they've even switched roles here, which could delve into that confidence even deeper.
So Forever actually was the life stealer. We saw in the scoreboard at the end of last game that I thought that was a bit strange as well with the name change, but I can confirm that Forever is the life stealer from the previous game.
That's so weird. So they tweaked it on us. They changed their name in the middle of the game. Okay, that's helpful.
Who knows? Maybe the mid-game name change. Maybe that's the play.
They have a better idea of what's to be done. But look at this. Oh no, they messed up their timing there. They weren't able to get the counter stun, and with no stun, Davi gets to walk away. So just the slightest things like that, you can tell team communication not ideal. But regardless, looking at Storm Spirit, that guy's got no HP, no money, no honeys. He's not going to be able to really do much for them. Leaving all the way back to base, mid is dominated by OD.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, honestly, right now, Woofers are just slowly taking that lead. And to me, this is kind of scary. If you're like slowly but surely generating this lead, you've got to have something that turns it around. And maybe this is the thing they have turning it around as Wasted Life gets stunned, locked down, and Kill's going to go through to Raze and give that a little bit more to Gamax that I was literally just saying they needed to find. Very, very good timing. However, the Phoenix almost was able to get away there if it wasn't for that really well-placed stun. Who was it that placed that last stun at the end there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think when it comes to getting these stuns in, we're just seeing a little bit of a mixed bag of communication here. But you don't really have to communicate much if you are 3 levels higher than anyone trying to challenge you in mid. OD is so set up here. I mean, this guy knows exactly what angle to really play this at. Isn't doing much outside of just completely zoning out the mid. Hasn't ganked very often though, and that lack of ganks could lead into some real problems. And looking at the fact that the Radiant have slowly gotten 1 or 2 picks here, taking out some of these guys, it's not ideal, but looks like we have a little bit of lag going on here for the teams, but they should be able to bounce back soon.
Very lagged one thing. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're gonna blame the lag. Honestly, I would in this situation, especially with when it's just looking a little bit more and more rough. But either way, like we've been saying, that there's still a lot of potential from both sides here. It's still that early game plays, and I think right now I also want to see a little bit more from this Phoenix. I was hoping a lot more. I like we saw that pick and we both thought, oh yeah, this is where they want it to be. This is their comfort level. But I'd be both. Most of you thought that, but I haven't seen too much from it just yet. So I'm still waiting for that to come a little bit more online. Overall, I feel like Woofer still hasn't really shown their hand in terms of how they want to play this game, which definitely gives them that slight bit of advantage across the board. But I don't know. Gamax, like you're saying, just aren't communicating as well, I feel like, and that's where Woofers are really, really taking charge in this game.
I'll see this now. If it is going to be taking charge, it needs to take charge in the next few minutes here. We're approaching the 10-minute mark. That's when things really start to heat up in the laning phase, but great harassment from Blade Moose, not even letting them get any small camp neutral creeps, and stops them from being able to pull. Huge moment there from Blade. I mean, this guy, this is why you want him on your team. Very efficient at roaming around, getting the zoning, but oh my god, Dabi. There is like 3,000 gold sitting in this camp. And if they can get that onto Raze, that balances everything back up, and they're going to. That is so much money at 9 minutes. This is what they needed to do to really bring things back, but they're actually launching themselves right into a big pick here. Rest in peace to Blade Moose, just unexpected. And wow, now they get a farm as well. This is the start of something new.
Yeah, start something new, but they're still, they're still sitting that few K gold down now, Gamax. So they've got to go a little bit further. I think it's, I don't know. For me, obviously it's still too early to call. However, if we're looking at the previous game, Woofers no team actually got this much of a lead until I think around 30 minutes into the game, or 35 minutes into the game. So to be at or not even 10-minute mark, and for Woofers to already have a bigger lead than we saw in the previous game, and they had won the previous game, definitely spells a little bit of fear in the hearts of Gamax fans all around the world right now. But again, still a bit more to come. and we're sort of teetering around that 2-3k mark right now. Both teams continuously farming up, and this slow playstyle, this isn't something that I see that often in Dota 2. However, we're seeing it today, especially Arena Esports, a very, very quick games a lot of the time. So do you think there's any reason for these two teams to sort of be slowing it down right now?
I think the main reason that we're seeing these guys slow down a bit is because they understand what happens when they get pushed out. Case in point, this is a huge gank. This is your carry being able to dash through using the ultimate, but cannot escape. If anything, actually gave the kill to someone who you did not want to give the kill to, and that's pretty large. Now, Dobby having to run away, I don't think he's going to be able to make it out, especially with a knife like that, but what a pick. Hasta luego, and that is the round for us here. As honestly, we're seeing this team just have great communication skills. They've been able to balance each other out pretty handily here.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, it does feel like, because we saw in the last game, a big thing from Woofers in the previous game was they only made plays after getting caught. But this time around, it doesn't really feel like they're only making plays after getting caught. It actually feels like they're making the plays from their own regard, flat out, which is definitely nicer from my point of view. It does show that they've got a lot more confidence, and maybe they lost some of that confidence from losing the last monthly qualifiers. However, this game, they've definitely got it back. They're continuing to slowly increase this lead, which is going to be pretty impactful, in my opinion, at least across the board, because it does show that they've got that consistency, which is something that you were talking about before we went into this game. That consistency is going to be important here, and I'm really hoping that we can see that. And nice little turnaround, at least. Raze does get put onto the killing spree, but you're losing out on the other sides of the map, so it might even be an even trade, really.
Yeah, definitely could be. I like the fact that this team is trying to now balance it out, but if we talked about one stack, this is what Luna does. Very similar to Sven, has the ability to hit so many creeps at once, and that's a ton of cash going back into their favor here. Has the Yasha going for a fast Manta style, which makes sense against a Storm Spirit, makes sense against this Spectre, but it also just makes sense for push power. I mean, Luna's level 10 right now, sitting at the highest net worth, a whole near 2,000 gold lead over anyone on the side of the Radiant. But Raze looking to try to find this player. I don't even think wants to find him because they are down. But look at this fight. Dobby is caught out here, but they are going to get kicked down anyways. Lots of damage here. Beautiful ultimate from the hook. And that is a dead player. But are they going to be able to clean it up in some way? No, they actually just TP'd into a demise here. But just kidding. Raze from the top rope is going to grab one. Wasted Life is not going to be able to get out either. That's a double kill for the price of one. Great trade-off.
A really nice trade-off in the end. Actually ended up putting a pretty even fight, I'd like to say. So, like, honestly, I don't think we can say too much from there, but I mean, even fights is the name of the game that we saw last time around. However, Woofers were able to pull that through. Which team do you think is going to scale better with these even trades going forward?
Well, right now, I think what might just be able to scale this team a little bit more is the fact that Mars has that early game team fight and Luna has the end game or the mid game farm. So right now, Woofers is still not only 3k gold advanced, but they're also really prepared for any team fight. If they group as 5, they win those fights. That's just what their team brings. But what I am looking at as well is the fact that Slardar just got his Echo Saber. That's going to really slow things down. Doesn't have the Blink Dagger yet. So until Slardar gets the Blink, gets the ability to be that initiator, we're not going to really be seeing much fighting going on that isn't just your one and done picks.
Yeah, and you know what? I think until those fights can really start hitting into, or bringing themselves into fruition, we are just going to see more and more of this farming up. Literally, farming is just the name of the game, it feels like. I feel like we've just seen these teams go and farm for the last minute or so, last few minutes. But as I say that, Blade Moose maybe getting caught off in a bit of a rough spot. We're seeing Kempus now trying to come through. Huge play to stop Blade Moose from getting taken down there forever. And Dobby now, though, going to try and change their focus. Dobby, though, being brought especially low. Kempus getting that kill. What a great play from Kemps to save the teammate and get the kill, but Raze isn't going to let that one slide. Because now Kemps getting put into a really bad situation. Maybe might try and be able to live this one, but Raze is there for the mega kill, turns it back around, and these even trades continue to happen, and I'm seeing a very similar spell to last game.
Yeah, the problem though is that is a support for the cost of your offlane core Mars, and the money is going into the hands of a Spectre and a Storm Spirit, the two characters that you're most concerned about. So yeah, I wouldn't call that even. I would call that a little bit of a blunder, but they have made so much space here for Madness to farm. Madness now, I think, does have the Manta style on the courier on its way, so that's massive for them. And with the Manta style, they can start team fighting.
Yeah, and you know what? Madness has been also just cleaning up these camps along the side. And if we actually have a look over at that net worth, look at the just the jump from you're sort of looking at like 7k, like 7 and a bit, like almost 8k, and then you just got 9.5. Like, what has that come from? And here we go, big fight happening now. Banish is going to come through a great move for especially low. Raze gets 1 kill there, but the turnaround does mean that there's going to be even further damage coming through. What is going on? Phoenix gets 1 on the side though. Madness goes on the killing spree, 2 for 2 trade, but now Gamax forcing themselves to run off as Madness just comes in and blows people off.
Yeah, I mean, Madness is out of the jungle, and that is the worst case scenario. For them to leave at the 16-minute mark says that they want to just end the game off here. Being able to now push in, this is when I should be seeing the last tier ones falling. I think they need to start making some more space. Tower-wise, the Radiant are winning. They have a lot more space to work with here. So if we see Madness, I need to see them leave the jungle a little bit more, maybe start using those Manta illusions to push into lanes, and should be able to balance it out. But the Radiant, they want to find a gank here. They're using their scans. They might be able to get a smoke up if possible. But as of right now, Forever is so behind on farm. This is a Spectre who is sitting at only 75 last hits. As a carry, having the least amount of last hits compared to any core in the game. That's not good.
Well, yeah, I mean, but honestly, I feel like there's still... Oh, here we go. There's some play happening from the top side of the map. Wasted Life going for the beam and just looking for more and more of these picks. They are able to pick up 1, but the turnaround Raze just feels so impactful in this game. Gets 1, almost turns it into 2, does get the second there, and now Kemps gonna be forced to back off. Feza coming into this fight too. This turnaround, that's a 3k, 4k coming through. Double kill Raze and Feza. Now it is looking dangerous as Gamax are able to get a huge fight on the top side of the map.
Yeah, that nearly leveled them back up here. Of course, Madness is still doing as best as they can to keep their team's net worth high, but unfortunately, the thing about Luna is it is a greedy pick. This guy is going to be taking every creep wave, every neutral camp. So a lot of his teammates are actually feeling the effects of that, as they don't really have much to work with. But I believe we did see a ward spot out this player, and they know that they are coming in for it. So I like the fact that we're seeing good rotations here off the back of that last fight. Again, though, Madness, he is sucking all of the life out of this jungle and lane stage, and I think Mars and OD are starting to feel the effects of it, so they need to get some kills together soon.
Yeah, and I mean, still, like, I don't know. Gamax have done such a good job here at pulling back this little bit of a lead that we've seen from Woofers, but again, gold is still pretty even. We are still seeing Madness continuing to farm up, and I think when we get a fight where Madness is really involved, rather than either half there or not there at all, that's when we're going to really see these two teams take shape. And I think continuing to delay Madness in a way is doing them justice, but also, as we just saw there on that top side of the map, really didn't do them all too well, losing 4 players. So, like you're saying, I want to see a little bit more getting out of that jungle, bringing it a bit more into the lanes, a bit more into the fights. However, at the same time, it could work. I do see this working. I do see this incredibly powerful Luna coming in and absolutely just demolishing the rest of the team. But we might see a smoke here, as there's a bit of a group happening in the jungle right now for Gamax. Looks like they want to try and make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, they need to. If they can't get another fight like that where they get all 4 except for the Luna, then they're not going to be able to close the gap, because even though they had that fight, look at the money. It's still just climbing. We're at nearly 300 last hits in a 20-minute game. This, I mean, I got to know, what is the GPM of this Luna? Absolutely crushing it right here. But of course, they want to make space still. They still have a ton of towers, and here is an incoming team fight here, Miwa.
Yeah, there's a big team fight coming in. Raze tries to go for the engage, but this is going to be stopped by Kems. Kems, though, not going to be able to do enough. Madness being brought especially low, but it's not enough from Gamax. Gamax are forced to back off this one. Raze is going to go straight back in, though. Have a wasted life there waiting. And now the kills are going to start coming through. 1 kill on either side so far. Make that 2 for the side of Woofers. Woofers now looking for more blood. Fezzer in, but a very rough spot. Kebs is hunting it down. Madness doesn't have the mana to be able to follow up on it too much. But is it really going to matter when the death is already there? 4K, another kill happening on that bottom side. And this is Woofers with Luna in the fight. 5K gold lead, looking to take down some towers. What a fight.
Wow, I mean, honestly, the MVP of that fight was definitely the Phoenix. Being able to bring Madness back up to full HP, unfortunately, becoming the bait. When you see Raze jump in like that, it is a greedy play. You don't have your team close enough to back it up, and yeah, they felt the full force of Madness there. Now, we're looking at a team that suffered no casualties. And they were able to take a tower, continue to farm, continue to push their team even further beyond. And now, hopefully, we can see what is next on the roster here for Madness. Madness is looking to get a E-Blade, not an E-Blade, a Butterfly here. And a Butterfly just makes it so this Slardar is not going to be able to compete very well. Nye is the Spectre. And talking about Spectre, I didn't even see their presence at all during that fight.
Yeah, it really felt like it just wasn't really... Never mind, there we go, kill happening on that bottom side. They're able to pick up 1 more kill onto Woofers, and Kems is going to just try and get away from that one. And now maybe the Rosh is actually on the table, having that 1-person advantage. But Anku isn't done with this one yet, and neither is Forever, as Forever's going to jump straight back in. But maybe they're overextending it just a little bit too much here, as the turnaround's going to come through. 1 kill's going to go down, though, so now it's a 3 versus 5. However, there's been so much used by Gamax here that I don't think they're ready for Madness, and Madness is going to jump in. It's a 2 now, turning it into 3 onto Fezzer. Potentially Fezzer brought especially low. Raze, though, then going to get absolutely demolished on the bottom side. Fezzer, the mega kill on the top 5 players going down. What a turnaround in such a dire fight to begin with. The overextension was just too much, and now Rosh is on the table.
Wow, and if Roche is here, then it is going to be taken down. Unfortunately, Blade Moose should not be tanking that. Good escape there. Now, Roche does have a chance to do a decent amount, but unfortunately, there's no one alive to counter this. So not only do they get a team fight, they get the Aegis, and now they have a 10K gold lead, and we saw how deadly that was for them previously. So, I don't know, Miwa. I was pretty adamant that I did not expect this to go to game 3. And I think I might be right. That is a 16,000 gold Luna. The next person underneath them is barely approaching 10K.
Yeah, no, that is... I mean, here's the thing. Especially with a game like Dota, you can put this gold in the right place very, very easily. You know, and that's exactly what they've done with Luna this time around. This is exactly what I'm expecting to continue to do. They're just looking for more and more picks. Like, this Beza can't do anything about it. And they've not even got Luna there for that one. This is just the rest of the team. Never mind the one with 17,000 gold. Like, what do you even do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you can't do here. I think at this stage of the game, you have to just start turtling and hopefully rely heavily on the fact that you have very strong pick-off potential. If you have your Spectre, your Slardar, and your Storm Spirit jump 1 person, that person is dead. If you don't, you're dead. That's how it comes down to. It's that simple.
Oh, well, it looks like Gamax are going to have to try and figure out how to do something about it for now, because 13,000 gold and rising as Woofers are going to continue to shove down this base. They've got a group going as well, so it's just going to be so hard to really deal with this one, especially because all you've got is a few of your towers here. But even then, those are starting to being brought down. Madness coming in now to, taking a lot of damage, but either way is going to start clearing up these waves. All 5 of them down there, ready. And Madness, I think, might be the bait here.
I think you're right. I think this could be the end-all be-all here. If they could just get through, that Aegis is not going to be easily popped, and looks like that is the bait that's coming through. There is a dead Shadow Demon, dead Marcy, and probably a fallen tier 3 tower. It is getting melted by the amount of farm Madness has. And, oh, they are going to fortify. Madness doesn't care. Still sticking around. Wants to finish the job here. And look at that smart play. Being able to banish a creep to guarantee that you still have the creep here for now taking mid. They just know how to play it so well. And when those glaives hit every building, it is terrifying. Look at that. From that position, they're taking... That's Luna. That's what it does.
That is absolutely vile. Like, it is just crazy just watching it flying between them. And especially with just that many attacks, you don't even need the creeps. Like, where even are Gamax? Gamax are on the other side of the map. I think they're giving up. There's no way, unless they're just letting this happen. But what is this? This is absolutely revolting right now. And honestly, I just don't see how Woofers aren't going to win this one, especially with that kind of pushing power. All they need is a couple picks, and then that's it. They can just start pushing down the base whenever they want.
Meanwhile, they didn't even lose the Aegis in that last fight. They were doing that scot-free. And now, looking at this, yes, they have to get through all of the towers in top, but who cares? They wasted and baited out a fortification. They can't defend any towers anymore. This is just going to be a walk it down, hold it down, and win the game now. And honestly, Madness with a Manta back up again, this is probably it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely looking like it. Those blades are just ripping through these structures right now, and here we go, going in straight again. These Krem's plays have been absolutely vile, and they continue to do so, and now Madness is just melting the base. What can you even do? It's just crazy. I mean, the banners to try and slow it down, but it's never going to be enough. Now Woofers are looking to be our winner for today's monthly qualifiers, but Ray's at least trying to do something about it. Is going to kill Madness. What a pick there. What a fantastic pick to get, but Madness is already back. Madness is already back in the game, and the rest of the team is just mowing down Gamax. Gamax have absolutely no chance. Madness literally already back in the fight. There he is. Going to start taking down the Nexus. Ray's going in for round 2. It's just going to instantly go back to the base. It's just, there's no safety.
I don't think that they can end because of what Storm is doing. He's just dashing in, just constantly keeping him here. They have to just back up. They have to go for Megas now. They know that they cannot end the game unless they get their Phoenix back up, but they might be able to get a tier 3 again. If they can open up mid, then that is just the amount of creeps that they need to maybe take this. They need the super creeps, but no one's defending. They know that they just have to give it up, and they have to stick to the Ancient. At this point in the game, there's no comeback mechanic. You have no push afterwards, so why not GG?
Well, I mean, at this point, I suppose it's your last dying chance in this game to try and make something happen. Maybe they're hoping for all the other players on the enemy team to DC out of nowhere. Like, it's... I don't know. I think at this point, they are just hoping that a mistake is made and they're able to try and pull through, but it's looking worse and worse every single second that this game continues, and I'm really struggling to see where that comeback from Gamax is going to happen. Now 22,000 gold lead, and this is where we saw Woofer's last game more or less just playing with them, but this time it doesn't look like Woofer's playing anymore because Woofers are out for blood, out for these towers. No more fortified towers from the Radiant side does mean that these towers are just going to drop like crazy. And now, you know what? I think Woofers, they figured it out, and they figured it out a lot earlier this time around, because I think at this point last game, we were still looking at a 1k gold lead being the most we'd ever seen.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit dramatic to see how they're being able to get thrown all the way back here. And now, I mean, I'm not going to say I told you so, Miwa, but I might have foreseen these events. Now, looking at this next push-up, Raze is going in with a BKB to try to get a pick. Oh, might be able to. Yes, they are going to get a pick, but how much does it cost you? There goes Fervor. There goes another one, and that is a double kill. Buybacks are coming through. Another great amount of damage. Unfortunately, double kill for the Phoenix, and that is Mega Creeps now secured. Fezer has to stop them from getting Megas. It's too late. Now you're just dead for no reason. This is GG. GG has been called, and it has been an interesting game. What a best of 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, that first game, we thought maybe the second game could be a little bit closer, but clearly not. Woofers have now qualified to the monthly finals and honestly have shown to be a fantastically good team, especially in this new patch. But bear in mind, they lost their last monthly qualifiers. This isn't even the best Dota 2 we've seen in Arena Esports, so make sure that you're going to be sticking around for more Arena Esports content and checking out these other monthly qualifiers, because this is just one game, and we just saw how Woofer's played in that. And what can we even come to expect from Woofer's going forward if that was the level of domination they were able to output in game number 2?
I think, honestly, looking at game went, obviously, we watched the previous time Woofer fans, or at least I did, tried to make it through. In all of the issues that they had, their over-aggression getting punished, their ability to, get caught out very often, their positioning just wasn't it. The way that they bounced back, the way that they worked around Roche, I don't know if maybe the updates to the game and these recent patches have benefited Woofer's playstyle, or it's Woofer's adapting. I honestly could not tell you which is which, but I will say Woofer's has definitely shown up in this new patch a completely different team. Unfortunately, not ideal if you're team Gamax here. You needed to be able to take them down and not take an L. And unfortunately, that is where they are going to only have one more chance to make it to playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, one more chance to make it to playoffs, but they're going to go through that open entry first to get that second chance. You know what? They showed definitely some signs of life, but you are right. I think Woofer were just a little bit more on the ball. Communication was there. Strategy was a lot more there than Gamax were. And I felt like Gamax did get lost in a few areas, but I don't think it was all bad. I think Gamax did show a lot of promise, and I think that if they have a similar sort of revival as Woofer did, then there's a very good chance we could see Gamax coming back into this one once again. But I mean, it's going to be a bit of a long haul for both of these teams because, from previous experience, we know Woofer has lost before. Gamax now have proven that they've lost once, so these could be the underdogs going forward from that. But we are going to have the scoreboard coming up very, very shortly because I want to see a little bit more about that game, and especially that gold on the Luna by the end of that, because that gold would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, honestly, they knew how to take it from an early start, but Miwa, that is where Woofers will be taking their lessons learned from the first month, doubled it down in the next month, and now they're going to move on into playoffs, and that's going to be a very exciting game to see here. Now, I do want to see some highlights. I need to know what these teams are going to be able to do, what moments really spoke to not only the audience, but our production. And also shout out to our production, shout out to our broadcast partner, Playtonia, shout out, of course, to our strategic partner, AD Gaming, because here at Arena Esports, we are powered by Etisalat, by and you guys have been an awesome team to have us watch it here. So thank you again to our production team. Thank you to Darkter for doing everything behind the scene. Thank you to Miwa for being my co-caster, but soon highlights. And Miwa, how are you feeling after, another great game of Dota commentated?
Well, also a little bit sad that you didn't thank yourself for that one as well. Like, you gotta give everyone a credit and yourself as well, I do. But either way, honestly, I feel like I've definitely especially learned a lot more about Dota from those games. We are going to get the highlights coming up now, and we're going to see some of those key moments from those games. And here we are now. I mean, this is where I think we've really started to see Woofers take a bit more control. They were sitting around this gold lead for quite a while. Similar amount of control in the game, and Kremps as well was just so impactful this game. And I feel like Kremps is one of the star players, at least for me, across all of these games so far, because just the impact that they had was tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, huge impact being able to really lock everything down here. Obviously, we did see early on that Kemps got caught out quite a bit, but what turned the game around? It was Madness. Madness was able to walk on out and just did so much in these team fights. And yes, the early game was dominated, but this right here, this is when Madness decided to walk out of the jungle. And what happened? Just multi-kill onto multi-kill onto multi-kill and ran it down. And ever since that moment at minute 13, they had the lead. So looking at the highlights, I can see that this team knew what they were doing. They knew how to lock it in there. But overall, I got to hand it to both teams for playing decent Dota. Raze was the biggest player raising the stakes for this team on Gamax.
You can see raising the stakes, But I mean, it was a fantastic game overall. I think that honestly we've learned a lot from both of these two teams here, and I think especially Woofers going forward, they definitely have a very good game plan. Madness has been in both games, especially game number 2, just farming up, farming up, farming up, farming up, comes out of nowhere, kills everyone. And I'll be really excited to see more of that in the future, because honestly, watching those shurikens go crazy, I mean, what can you even say? Those towers did not stand a chance, if we don't remember.
Yeah, not a whole lot of chance here for them to really stand at all. I think that this was a real showcase of what sit means in Dota. But overall, I will say game one, I like the way that they played a lot better. I mean, they were neck and neck going toe to toe. They respected each other's space more. But after that late game, something awakened in Woofers that just ran it down. And that's really all that they needed to do. They had everything in their hands. And looking at this, they get 5K after 5K, lockdown after lockdown. They're at 11K now. Next, we're going to see them at 20K now. And it's just positioning wise, it's tough to get farm in Dota and not get caught out for it. But Chems definitely brought it back. And I will say, I like the attempt here to stop them from breaking the Ancient. The play that we saw from the Storm Spirit, obviously lots of damage being dealt by Raze, being able to use the Fountain for just constant assistance, but shouldn't be that much of a problem in their next game. I think that, you know, Miwa, what would you want to see different from the team of Gamax before we see them again in our future qualifiers?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Gamax just need to have more communication, and not only more communication, but I think we need to see Gamax being able to go in with a bit more of a game plan than what they currently have. I feel like Gamax have ended up going into a lot of these games sort of all playing their own individual game of Dota 2 rather than playing as a team. And I feel like as soon as you're able to unlock that potential of being able to play alongside your teammates a lot better is where you really get the advantage and the highest amount of skill in the pro scene, where a lot of these players, I'm sure, want to be going. So that's what I want to see from Gamax. I want Gamax to, across the board, just be more prepared and also more structured, because that was where I feel like they really fell off today, and that's where I think that they could get so much level of improvement from, because they showed potential. Their individual mechanical play was on par the entire time during this series. And I feel like as soon as they unlock that playing together as a team, that communication, they're instantly all over their competition. I think they have a great chance, but that's probably the hardest part of any game to really get under your belt and really get going. So I think the future has good promise for the players of Gamax, but today just wasn't their day.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't make it past this one, but they still get a little bit of money here if we take a look at that prize pool, being able to showcase how much it's worth to not only compete in the grand scheme of things, but also others. But let's look at the scoreboard. Let's take a look at the roadmap and all of that. Let's see how it went. So Forever started us off 1-4. This was the character that I had the most amount of faith in, and I think the main reason that they fell off is because if you're a carry and you get a Midas, what that tells me is you cannot last hit. And they didn't. 127 last hits. Compare that to Madness. Miwa, how many last hits does Madness get?
I mean, it's a solid... I mean, it was almost the funny number, but it was 421, which is... I mean, you're closing in there on 4 times as much. It's just over, it's a bit over 3 times as much, almost 4 times as much CS. Like, I mean, look at the gold per minute values of both these players. 383 versus 928, which is preposterous amounts of gold.
Yeah, I mean, that GPM is insane, the way that they were able to just have full control of the map, and they didn't buy a Midas to do so. Buying a Midas sets you back 2k gold to earn 1k. I mean, good job there, Forever. It is a decent item to have if you're planning on going for late game, but it just didn't pay off. But what I know will be paying off, of course, is our prize pool, is how much money this tournament is worth. I mean, these guys have been competing in a lot of these, qualifiers each month. They have tons of 3rd and 4th place. They get their Arena Esports points. If you guys want to check out Arena Esports and get some points for yourself, feel free to do so. But not only do you have to compete to get those points, you also get money on the line. First place gets around 950, second place only 350. So you have to win something here or you're going to be taking a fat L. But they still walked away. Gamax still walked away with a decent chunk of change, and they will be able to compete in our next roadmap. I know we have another invitational qualifier, another Q3 open, and then we have another monthly, and that is the final monthly for our figuring out the qualifiers of playoffs. So Q4 coming up soon in the month of January. This is not going to be a easy game to get into. This is going to be pretty hard fought, as we've seen so many teams get knocked down that are still competing in those qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, these are definitely not going to be easy qualifiers. You're absolutely right there. Like, these teams that are coming through right now are very challenging, and especially, this is our third monthly qualifiers. After this, we have one final monthly qualifiers. Every team is going to be putting everything they could into this. I said this way back in the second or first monthly qualifiers when I said, I think that early on, when you still have a chance of being able to come through and go on later, it's not going to be as bad because you know that you have a backup. But here we go. This is the prize pool. It's partly in cash, partly in Arena Esports points, but about a $1,200 prize pool for this event altogether. So, I mean, yeah, I think that teams are going to be putting a lot into that last monthly qualifiers, and I'm really, really excited to see what team is going to really come out on top, because Gamax has played well today, but there's definitely some teams that want it badly.
Yeah, and only one spot left. We could even be seeing, and we will be seeing, a rematch of Team Random versus Woofers in the playoff stage. So that is something that, if you want to see Woofers continue to be the beacon of hope for their team, they have really come in time and time again to make it work. But Gamax, you still have a invitational qualifier, 2 teams, and an open qualifier to try to get back into the monthly finals Q4. That is right around the corner. Fun fact about Gamax, we actually saw them do an amazing job in the invitational qualifier a while ago, and yet they didn't make it all the way through there. So the fact they made it this far is already at their peak, and they know they can bring it back. Bring the same energy that Woofers brought on you today, and you will be able to take Q4. So don't rule that team out. We're going to be seeing them a lot recently and later, but that is going to be a problem for next week. Looking at the schedule we have going on now, I believe the next time we should be experiencing some Dota 2 action is going to be on the 6th. I believe the 6th of January there. I could be wrong about that. But overall, pretty excited to see what happens here. Yep, it is going to be the 29th as well. Is another option here. But gameplay, if you want to see more games that Arena Esports put us on, make sure you're dropping a follow. We, of course, have Counter-Strike, PUBG Mobile, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, Dota 2, of course. So if you like what you see, make sure that you are following, because there's a lot of other casters out there that I'm sure you would like to be listening over some other gameplay. Miwa, of course, just did CS yesterday.
Yeah, I know. Arena Esports has so much content that's being pumped out, and there is just so much, even on just the backlog, that you can go and watch, rewatch, all of that. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you stay involved with Arena Esports, because we're not going anywhere. But one final thanks to our partners at AD Gaming and broadcast partner being Playtonia, obviously powered by Etisalat. I have been Miwa. I've been here with Edu. Thanks again once more to our production team behind the scenes, and thank you to you, the viewer, for staying involved. And it was a fantastic best of 3 today. I'm really excited to do some more. Edu, any closing thoughts?
Absolutely not. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Heaven, could you save me now from these thoughts inside my head? God, you are the devil running through my mind. I can't get on your level. I swear to God I tried. I am not after your spell. Turn around and turn ahead. You cannot be anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil. So hard to save. Hallowed by my love for you. you always stop me going under. Follow every step I take, cause our walls are coming down. God, you are the devil, running through my mind. I can't get on your level, I swear to God I tried. I am not under your spell. Turn around and turn ahead. You cannot be anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil. Stuck in the back of my head and I'm dead. I got the devil inside me and everything that I see is red. Vision is blurry, I'm in a hurry, my skin is starting to shed quick. Call up the doctor, swallow some pills, maybe I'll wake up in bed. I'm a disaster, can I move faster? Honey, I'm over the edge. No point in stopping me, I'm not your property, gotta take care of my ledge. My friends are dead, I'm losing my head, I gotta get off of these meds. I am unstable, willing and able, give you this body to pledge. Oh my God, you are the devil. Oh my God, you are the devil.
Best to give me that loyalty. Best to give me that loyalty. Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty.
Bye.